The energy was infectious. The cultural mashup was glorious. International fans arrived expecting traditional football fare and found stadiums pumping out star-spangled scoff snacks. For the US, nothing said the beautiful game quite like a processed platter. And the heat. Games were played in blistering midday sun to please European TV audiences. Players were practically melting on the pitch, while fans in the stands were getting sunburns shaped like replica jerseys. Can you imagine the tan lines if England were there? Nightmare. On the pitch, we got pure theatre. Babetto's baby rocking celebration, Maradona's last international hurrah, and ultimately a final that ended in the most American way possible, a dramatic shootout, with Baggio launching his penalty straight into the California stratosphere. To this day, 1994 remains the most attended World Cup in history. The total for the 52 games, 3.5 million. That's an average of 68,000 per game. America didn't just survive the invasion of a foreign sport, it birthed Major League Soccer because of it. Beckham, Messi, they don't go if it wasn't for USA 94. Turns out all it took to hook the States on the world's game was a little bit of 90s magic and a whole lot of nacho cheese.
Hello, a very good morning and welcome to World Cup Weekend Breakfast. I'm Will Gavin and with me the former Chelsea and Republic of Ireland striker, Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
So excited. I'm so excited to be here, Tony, with you. This is going to be a fun next 4 hours. Here's what's to come this morning. The World Cup final that never was, as England wrap up their tournament in the third place playoff against France. Ahead of this one, Thomas Tuchel doubled down on his controversial second-half substitutions that triggered their exit to Argentina.
If you're asking if I regret my decision, if this is the question, then say no, I don't regret my decisions. I felt that we become too passive. I felt that we the momentum switches in the match, and I tried to help my team.
I can't lie, I can't wait to hear what Cass has got to say about that whole situation. I've held off talking about it in the office to him just because I desperately want to hear what he has to say on air for the first time. And the fallout from France's exit hasn't been much better either. After the tournament favourites were knocked out by the European champions, Spain, 1998 World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit said the nation is in mourning.
Emotionally, it was really sad, when I get back home, by bicycle, I crossed the whole street. And I saw so many disappointing supporters. They were so sad. So at the end of the day, it's just football.
The image of Emmanuel Petit in Paris jumping on his bike. He's definitely wearing a striped blue and white shirt in my mind as he's doing it. Don't forget you can listen to England against France live on talkSPORT tonight at 10 p.m. And tomorrow the biggest game in world football takes centre stage in New York as the European champions Spain take on the world champions Argentina. For the first time ever, we're seeing that clash in a World Cup final. And despite Messi eyeing up his second World Cup title, talkSPORT's Ali McCoist slammed their style of play and hopes they don't lift football's greatest prize.
I didn't want Argentina to win, and I certainly don't want them to win the final. It's not a part of the game, the way they play, intimidating people and being aggressive.
So don't forget the World Cup final is live on talkSPORT tomorrow from 8 p.m. Why don't you get in touch with the show this morning? Give us a call or drop us a WhatsApp. You can text 81089. You can hit us up on WhatsApp on 03717223344. And that's also the number to call if you want to get involved in the show. Producer Gabs asked me to say, have you forgiven Thomas Tuchel yet? I don't think the nation's quite ready for that yet, Gabs. We'll hear his comments, but we'd love to hear from you. 03717 22 3344. This is the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Tony Cascarino, how are you, brother?
I'm really good, Will. Looking forward to today's show. It's always funny when you get the reaction. It's like 3 days afterwards. I've listened to talkSPORT a hell of a lot this week. You certainly have as well. And all the reaction and what people have said and the fallout. And then you move on and then you get your opportunity. But can you bring anything new to the table? I think I will this morning on some of the stuff that I witnessed. I did like Emmanuel Petit. I got two boys who live in Paris. They're both French speaking. They both sound like they're from South London as well, by the way. But they absolutely gutted because their mum was French, and certainly they consider themselves more French than they were. One was born in England and one was born in Paris, and their reaction to France going out is exactly the same. Everybody's gutted. No one can believe it in France that France have been beaten. And it's slightly different here because obviously England weren't as firm favourites as people felt France were against Spain.
But they've at least had some success in the last 60 years, whereas it's just constant flipping heartbreak for us. It's just, 8 times we've been to a quarter-final or a semi-final and lost by a single goal or extra time or penalties or whatever it is. So, yeah, all right, they were favourites, but they don't know about the national morning. They don't know about that.
Well, can I just say, my son sent me an image, and I play for Ireland, so I'm out of this one and with England. On the star, he just put a photo of the French top on with 2 stars, 2 World Cup wins. Just sent it to all the family group,
It's a glorious level of pettiness, and I back it in a huge way.
It did make me laugh, though. But look, what I witnessed on Wednesday night, some of it, Will, was things that I can only point at the manager. Now, people will say, and the manager said last night in the interview, the team were too passive. I'd say to Thomas, I think you were even more passive than the team, because you were. You've decided to go with in a game that you were comfortable in. Look, and Argentina started the game. They were intimidating, and they felt like the crazy gang to me, more Wimbledon-like crazy gang. Lots of, tackles, niggles, nothing too severe, but little pushing Bellingham, trying to get him a little bit on edge. Their tactics were quite clear. The first half came and went with not really much happening. But once England scored, the whole dynamics from the bench to what happened on the pitch, for me, was so blatantly obvious. And I'm not trying to be smart here. I sent a message on our family group saying, if England concede now, they'll lose the game in 90 minutes, right? I think I was like thousands of others in the country who could witness what was happening in front of them. And do you know what? The prey, because that's what England were for the Argentinians, they were vultures going after their prey because they knew England were there for the taking. Because it was so obvious what was happening and how it was developing. Just think a few things. Enzo Fernandez had 4 or 5 shots in the second half. One got tipped over the bar, a couple he ballooned over. See, this sort of scenario happened 4 or 5 times.
The sighters were there. It was so obvious what he was going for.
And the short corner. Was there 4 in a row short corners?
Mm-hmm.
Did not England think that at one time maybe we need to double up and stop that happening? Because that was another consistency in their play, Argentina. And look, there's way more other things that we'll talk about over the course of the morning. The bottom line is that I thought Tuchel, we all have this idea of, a winner, and he's won at club level. He's done this in achievements. It doesn't relate very well to international management, that so many coaches have come into international management. Take Ancelotti taking on Brazil. And there's many others examples. It doesn't work out, and it hasn't worked out. And that was one of the biggest mismanagements I've ever witnessed. I've been in the game 45 years, Will. I don't think anyone's made a more bigger pig's ear than that, what he did in them 35, 40 minutes. I thought it was up there with the highest, if the highest.
For me, the most tactically inept performance I've seen from a manager in a 20 to 30 minute span in my entire time watching football, and certainly as an England fan. But to hear it coming from you as someone who played the game for so long, that you've never seen a manager put in a less apt performance than that.
I mean, I've listened to a lot of people this week, and, you know, people are very knowledgeable in the game, and some have been managers. And, you know, I'm not saying the players have some responsibility, but this idea that players would go on the pitch and they would, they'd see things that were wrong and be active in that game. If you're a manager and someone goes ignores your instructions, they'd never play for you again.
And listen, he says, like, the people who want to justify that it's not the manager's fault, the people who want to justify this idea that from the moment we scored, from that Jed Spence tackle onwards, that all the players dropped deep. Guess what? Did they score before the 70th minute or the 73rd minute? No. They scored in the 85th minute, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Now, we don't like them. I think most English fans hate them. But what you did have between those two times was 3 minutes where the manager could get his players together for that hydration break and say to them, what on earth are you doing? Why have you suddenly started sitting so deep? We need to be pressing back out. We desperately needed an out ball. Harry Kane was dropping way too deep, and I don't blame Kane for that. It was selfless from him, but we needed an out ball. We needed someone out there, and instead he took off the players who offered that. He took off Anthony Gordon. Bellingham looked exhausted. Kane looked exhausted. Listen, we're going to get into all of this.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about.
By
the way, just a quick one on this one. Have you ever said, I mean, I know American football's your sport and you love it to death, Wills. Tell us, has that ever happened in American football where you've gone, someone's made, as a coach, so many errors?
Yeah, there is a very famous example with the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots, Super Bowl 52, where the Atlanta Falcons in the third quarter were up 28-3. Now, the only reason it's slightly unfair is England were only 1-0 up.
Yeah.
If England were 2 or 3-0 up and had thrown this game away, maybe it'd be a more direct comparison. But in that game, exactly the same thing happened. With about a third of the game left, the coaches started coaching scared. They started coaching defensively. They took themselves off the front foot. They tried to be passive, and they tried to say, we've got a big enough lead. Let's just let this game happen, and we're going to go and win it. And Tom Brady ended up being Tom Brady, and they ended up having the greatest comeback in NFL history. To me, that is the only like-for-like example where a coaching staff were entirely to blame for what had happened. And I know they're not entirely to blame. I know the players have to take a role in this, but Thomas Tuchel has to take ultimate responsibility. And yet again, he hasn't done that. When given an opportunity overnight in his press conference and in his conversation with Faye afterwards, which we'll hear a little bit later on the show, he had an opportunity to not double down. He had an opportunity to hold his hands up. And he once again said, I would have felt like I hadn't taken my responsibility if I hadn't reacted at all. He claims that reacting and moving to a back five was still the correct response to what he saw on the pitch. Anyway, we will get more into it. There is so much to get into. We've got to talk about the Bryson DeChambeau situation as well, because we had some fun with that in the office. But in true England fashion, we miss out on a World Cup final again. We have to go into a pointless third-place playoff this afternoon. 60 years of hurt just rages on.
When your day is long.
No, I don't regret it. It doesn't help if you regret anything. You take the decision in the moment.
He threw it away. Thomas Tuchel is a coward.
Thomas Tuchel tried to stay brave as long as he could.
Either he didn't believe in those players or he's cowed. There has to be a consequence for that. Yeah. He's a hypocrite.
But you want him gone?
I think there are more reasons to not have Tuchel than there are to keep him there.
I think it's a ridiculous statement, if I'm being honest. It would be like throwing the baby out with the bathwater at this stage, you know. He's had a tournament, he gets to understand the runnings of a tournament. I think from his perspective, I think he'll gain from that.
I still think you give him another tournament. You give him another tournament to see how, and if it goes badly again, then you give it to him.
It was a cowardice decision. We are better than that.
Everybody hurts sometimes.
Buoyant.
I mean, that's a heartbreaking thing to hear at 6:15 in the morning, isn't it? Thanks, Michael Stipe. Thanks, REM. I'm just going to spend Saturday morning crying. That's my plan. Cass, the overarching question with this. Thomas Tuchel picks this squad, and we can talk about selection, and we can talk about the players that were there and weren't there and everything else. Did he trust the squad that he picked to have enough quality to win that game when they were 1-0 up?
I would say more, Will, he didn't trust his defenders to do their job, and what they've done all their careers is know how to stop, know how to defend. And when you make substitutions, you take off forwards, you're basically saying to the opposition, we're going to just try and basically suffocate you. Every time you get in certain position, low blocks or whatever. The unfortunate thing is that the one player that kept getting on the ball was, well, if not the greatest player ever, a 39-year-old ended up killing England. You mentioned Tom Brady, before. He was probably in his 40s, wasn't he, when he took to the Atlanta Falcons game. I just think he got so much wrong, and not trusting players to do what they're, that's why you selected them, because you go through all scenarios in your head as a coach. I've never coached, but I know that I'm thinking about things before games that might happen, right? Scenarios. And I didn't think there was any thought gone into that scenario of, so what we do then, this is what England do. We're just going to defend with everybody behind the ball with 35 minutes to go. That's too long.
I question, maybe they did think of that scenario, but he'd seen what happened against Mexico. He'd seen the heroics there. But this isn't a Mexico team who are putting deep crosses into Raul Jimenez, and Dan Burn can just deal with that. A 35-year-old Raul Jimenez. Argentina and Lionel Scaloni outcoached Thomas Tuchel hands down in this game. They watched that Norway game. They watched that Mexico game. They saw that England...
Did you see him smiling on the sideline? They were losing the game. And he actually, you could see him... He knows.
It's because he knows. He saw, and he even said it in his post-game comments, he saw the mental fragility. He knew that collapse was coming, and he'd seen exactly how we reacted against Norway and exactly how we reacted against Mexico when we sat deep, but Norway and Mexico both pinged deep crosses in, and we dealt with them with ease. Yeah. And you watch what Leo Messi did time after time in that second half. He challenged defenders, he got to the byline, he got the ball in. And how did the winner come? From a perfect ball in that exact scenario that we could not deal with. He reacted tactically, he made 3 brilliant substitutions, and meanwhile Thomas Tuchel stood there with his head in his hands wondering what he'd done wrong.
Well, just a quick one. Why was it like 3 or 4 England players went down with fatigue and just literally cramped up or had to go off injured? I'm talking about obviously Rice and Jed Spence, John Stones went down at a period in the game, and Argentina didn't have any. None of them went down that I can remember and it's when you're defending and you'll keep defending, that fatigue and mental, it just takes it out of you. That I didn't think England even had an option. And once they went down they made all their changes. If Argentina scored, there was no get out of jail for England. It was dead. That was it. It was gone.
And it's interesting, you started off this conversation by saying you watch 3 days of reaction and you don't know if you're going to have something new to say. But I think what happens is your emotions develop, your analysis develops, you watch more, you take more in. And I tell you what I have begun to think more and more over the last few days. I actually don't hate going to a back 5 in that situation. I actually don't hate you trying to close down the spaces. The bigger problem to me wasn't going to the back 5. It was going to the back 5 whilst also taking off Declan Rice for a defender, whilst taking off Anthony Gordon for a defender, whilst leaving Harry Kane out there completely dead on his feet. Because even if you go to a back 5, you can still have an Ollie Watkins who can get in behind. You can still bring on Marcus Rashford or Bukayo Saka, players who have legs, players who can run, they pressed brilliantly for 60 minutes. They got in the dirt with Argentina. They were happy to let those tactics wash over them, and they pressed and they pressed and they pressed, and they were then out on their feet. If you bring on attacking players who can press more, who can put a foot on the ball, who can win you a throw-in.
But you've got to attack the space, okay? England went to a 5-5. That was their...
Yeah.
It wasn't a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2. It was 5-5. That's what they went to.
They're 2 centre-backs on yellow cards and 2 full-backs who couldn't defend.
That passive...
And you're not attacking them.
Yeah. It's the easiest game in the world for Argentina after that. Don't worry, we've got no threat. England have got no threat. We're going over time on the first 15 minutes of the show.
The worst part is I thought I was over it. I thought I was over it. And you've got me angry again, Cass. I'm angry again. We'll talk about it more coming up, and we'll look forward to a third-place playoff that nobody wants. This is the World Cup Weekend Breakfast on talkSPORT.
We've been talking all morning about Thomas Tuchel. We've been talking all week about him and the fact that he's questioned England's DNA, whatever that may be. He said, I think ball possession plays a crucial role. It's maybe not in our DNA as it is in the Spanish or Brazilian or Argentinian DNA. To take the ball and control the game and the ball, which is a big problem. What do you make of that, Ben?
Watching the Spain game the other night against France, that's how you keep the ball. And I think it comes down to bravery. We've got the players to do it, we've got the ability to do it, but it comes down to bravery. And I think once them England players put that shirt on, when it comes to the crunch moments, that's the bit that is lacking a little bit. We've definitely got the ability to do it. We've got the players to be able to do it. You watch Spain, and when they went 2-0 up, even when they were 1-0 up, they just kept doing it. You've got Fabian Ruiz and Rodri in the central midfield. At one point, they're playing two-touch over the French midfield. They're keeping the ball nice and calm. And I'm just thinking...
They had a good structure as well, though.
Really good structure, but they're drilled on it. And there's a lot of people saying, well, why can't we be drilled on it?
You've got to want the ball as well.
You've got to want it, but it's bravery, isn't it?
It is.
And bravery comes in a load of different forms.
So
People think bravery might be a Dan Burn getting his head, and it is a form of bravery, but when it comes to the crunch moments, it's that calmness under pressure in the big calm moments where you've got to go, right, just woof, woof. And I think Argentina a bit, look at Messi, see how calm he is, and I think that filters through the team as well.
Yeah, he can carry you out of trouble, Messi, can't he? Give him the ball, he carries it up the pitch, he takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
That's what we were lacking as well, just an individual who just could carry it up.
Oh, it'd be lovely if we had one of them.
Yeah.
One or two of them at home, I think.
I think it's a bit unfair because he took Gordon off, and I think Gordon's grown into the tournament, I thought, because he had a lot going on at the beginning, which I spoke of, because with the move and all that sort of stuff, a lot to handle, if you like. But I think he's grown into it.
Hello, I'm Matt Forder from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
You're back with the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast, and obviously Tony Cascarino and myself, Will Gavin, just spent the entire break continuing to break this down, debate it and get angry about it. We'd love to hear from you.
We need to have a break in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, we might have been a bit late. Sorry, guys. We'd love to hear from you on this. 03717 223344. I know people have had a huge amount of their say on this already, but
can I make another?
We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, please, Tony. The floor is yours, sir.
The night before Spain played, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at their substitutions. 1-0 up, right? 1-0 up, Spain. 1-0 up. Pedro, right back, is in the 18-yard box. He's made a run in the 18-yard box to make it 2-0. Their substitutions were Ferran Torres come on for Olazabal. Nico Williams came on the left, right, forward. Marino come on for Omar. They were all there. They're literally like for like attacking players the night before. Spain didn't even take one step backwards in a game that France couldn't lay a glove on them. The best attack in the world. I mean, if you said to me today, who's the best forward line in the world, I'd still say it's France. And Deschamps obviously got caught up in the game, and Spain were just brilliant. I say just brilliant because it was that. They were just brilliant in every position. But Spain never once even considered trying to hang on to the game.
It's funny as well because we keep talking about Wednesday night being one of the worst mismanagements of a game we've ever seen. Didier Deschamps, as a World Cup winning head coach, as a World Cup and European winning player, as a man who has come into that French team and just taken them to all the success in the world, how he didn't watch how that Spanish team had played for this whole tournament and think to himself, we might get dominated in midfield if we play the 4-2-4 we've been playing for this whole tournament. Maybe, just maybe, Doué or Barcola has to be sacrificed for this game for an extra midfielder to try and regain some control from Spain. I do not understand in any way, shape or form. And yet somehow Thomas Tuchel made a bigger hash of it 24 hours later. Somehow he did an even worse job.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really criticise France and what they achieved, because before the tournament, during the tournament, they were the best team. Before we got to semi-finals, the best team I'd witnessed was France by a long way. I thought Spain, Argentina and England have got there by hook or by crook. Spain didn't play particularly well, but when it got to this game, they were unbelievable in that game. I don't think Deschamps realised how they got undone so easily by Spain. Because watching that French attack, how do you stop that? How can Olise, who's been his control of the ball all season for PSG and international, has been unreal, miscontrol so many balls in a game? Because he did.
Yeah.
We're talking about one of the most gifted players in Europe at the moment. And he was doing things that I couldn't even recognise in Olise's game. And Mbappe looked injured. I think Tchouaméni was definitely injured. I thought, obviously, Saliba at the back was definitely injured. I think the mistake there, they've probably picked 2 or 3 players that weren't right physically. So, look, we've gone a little bit... I've gone off a little bit off. No, it's their valid points of why.
It brings us into an interesting part of this conversation with Thomas Tuchel in England, though, right? Because what you saw from Spain in that game is that same thing that's been trained into Spanish players their whole lives. From those 2 brilliant academies in Madrid and in Barcelona.
That's been used a lot this week.
Well, that's the question, right? and there's part of me, people have been really angry about these DNA Thomas Tuchel comments. And I think there is a grain of truth in them, because from 8 or 9 years old as a Spanish player, you are taught to respect the ball. You are taught about the importance of passing. You're taught about the importance of possession and control. And you could argue the same for Brazil, playing futsal from when they're little kids with the small balls out on the beaches. They are taught about that importance of ball control. But are you having these Thomas Tuchel comments that I think ball possession plays a crucial role? It's maybe not in our DNA, like it's in the Spanish or the Argentinian, Brazilian DNA, to take the ball and control the game with the ball. Are you having DNA? Are you having Thomas Tuchel claiming that that is a reason that England couldn't win this game?
See, I would have more respect for that if he'd have said it before it happened. If he'd have come into the job and said, look, one of the biggest issues for English football is that they don't have the DNA about how to control games with their ability technical. He didn't say that once. That's never been mentioned. And when you lose and then you've been beaten the way you have, now it's an issue. That's what I'd have to put.
I put it to you simply, Thomas. You were brought in to change the DNA. That was the point of having you in there, not to use it as an excuse after you lost. Not to use it as an excuse.
See, I think England have had 2 squads in 2 tournaments that they could have easily won the tournament. Euro 96 under Terry Venables, Bobby Robson in 1990. And they lost the penalty shootouts, yeah? I thought them 2 squads had the DNA to win things. I didn't think that they would win this World Cup. I said it all along. I didn't think England would win. I thought France would win the World Cup. But there is a coincidence, there's a lot of coincidence of the way that England are going out of tournaments or losing. If you take 2018, the Croatia game, 1-0 up, against Croatia at half-time, lose the game 2-1. Croatia changed tactics at half-time. England, a completely different team. So maybe England haven't had the managers. I've mentioned 2 that I think were good enough to win a tournament with England.
But you have it's happened so often. I think if you look over, I mentioned it earlier, the 8 times that we've gone out of the World Cup in the quarterfinals or later since we won it. And in all of them, we've lost by a single goal, we've lost in extra time, we've lost on penalties. And in all 8 of those games, you could look at them and say, like, just on law of averages alone, surely England should have won one of those games of football. They had great
squads. Do you think England have been cursed? Is there a curse?
I'm not sure it's quite...
Because I'm going to do a story.
It's not the Ghanaian witch doctor that we're talking about here. We're not quite on that level of curse. But there is... I think it's a mentality issue is more my concern. That losing mentality, that how you behave in those big moments, that is undoubtedly the whole point of Thomas Tuchel was he was meant to come in and change that mentality. He was meant to come in and actually revert us and give us a winning mentality. And instead, what seems to have happened is that Thomas Tuchel has been infected with the English losing mentality of we're in the big moment, we're going to drop the ball somehow.
Could you accuse the fans of being in the same mentality? Because there is an element of where England fans are thinking this is just like deja vu. This is happening all the time. Because if you see the reaction of Argentina when they're behind, their fans believe they could still win.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a silence with the England fans knowing when, and I get it, why they were like it, because they actually knew that England were going to get beat in that game.
Cass, our national song about our football team for the last 30 years has been about how we always lose in the big moments. Literally, like the rest of the world doesn't get the joke about 3 lines. I totally get it. But literally the whole joke is, yeah, we'll get close, but we're going to lose. Like that's our entire mentality, our entire belief. At 1-0, we all were saying, if we sit back here, we're going to lose this game. At 1-1, we all went, they're going to concede a second. There's no way this is even going to extra time. We all knew that was going to happen. But maybe if we didn't know it was, maybe if we believed it wasn't going to happen, maybe we'd get over the line just once. Listen, there's still so much to get into with this, and we do want to hear from you. 0371722 3344 is the number to call. You can text 81089 as well. But let's take a look at what's still to come. This is a huge summer of sport. No, you just want a break? Okay, fine.
To go, mate. I'm sorry, Jeff. Like, when we are paying £8 million for a foreign coach to come in and win us our first trophy since 1966, and that's what he does in a semi-final for an Argentinian side that were there for the taking, and to do what he did, 10 times worse than anything Southgate's ever done negatively. I'm sorry, he has to go, mate. Simple as that. The FA have to make a decision, and I just didn't like his interview, the arrogance of his interview. No regrets. Yes, you have got regrets, mate. You've got regrets. There was loads of trouble after the game across the country. Everyone was together. And that's on you, Thomas Tuchel. That's on you. The negativity, cowardly tactics. You can't blame the players. I'm hearing people say, Jeff, that, the players on the pitch have got to make decisions. There's some experience. No, you listen to your coach. Your coach tells you to play a certain formation. You listen to him.
Yeah.
He has to go. Simple as that. No foreign coach has ever won the World Cup. Maybe for a reason. We've given it a go now again with a foreign coach, and that's what he's done.
I mean, Alan here has just tested the same sort of thing that you were saying. So Tuchel's shortcomings have been exposed. What about the players' shortcomings? Well, look, the players, we've got 6 defenders on. We've got 4 central defenders on at the end for the cross that Messi puts into Laura Martinez. So, yes, I get that. But ultimately, the can has to be carried by the coach, especially with the negativity. I mean, look, everybody said this, but the negative. Anthony Gordon is flying. We scored a brilliant goal. Brilliant goal. You'll have loved, the fact that Kane, Declan Rice, who's soon to come off as well, Morgan Rogers, and a lovely finish to Anthony Gordon. And Gordon's feeling 10 feet tall, so what do we do? Oh, we'll take him off.
Scotland were made to wait over a quarter of a century between their appearances at World Cup finals. So long, many of their fans were unborn or in nappies when they were having that memorable summer across the Channel. Scotland's route to France 98 was relatively straightforward under Craig Brown, finishing second in qualifying Group 4, which back then was enough to go straight through to the finals. talkSPORT's very own Ali McCoist was at the centre of the big pre-tournament scandal, left out of the squad entirely at the age of 35. That off the back of a season in which he'd scored 15 for Rangers. Brown would later describe his decision as a huge regret and would apologise. McCoist said being left at home was one of the biggest disappointments of his career. The tournament itself was an all-too-familiar tale of struggle for Scotland, defeat by way of an own goal against holders Brazil, a what might have been draw against Norway, and a crushing loss to Morocco would ensure Scotland were home before the postcards. Delimitri's World Cup song Don't Come Home Too Soon ringing in their ears, little did they know they'd not feature at a World Cup for another 28 years.
You're back with the World Cup weekend breakfasts. Good morning. I'm Will Gavin. Alongside me, the former Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino. Some of your headlines this morning. A White House official has defended the Argentina players' right to hold a banner referencing the Falkland Islands amid a FIFA investigation into the incident. talkSPORT understands Tottenham are open to offers for World Cup star Jed Spence, despite an impressive World Cup with Italian champions Inter Milan favourites for his signature. And new Premier League manager Marco Rose has spoken for the first time as Bournemouth boss. He said the pressure on taking over from Andoni Iraola, but he will build a foundation that was set from last season.
The manner, the way they played were really impressive, and that's what we have to maintain. That's what we try to maintain: the culture, the approach of the game, the front-footed approach. But again, I'm looking forward. I'm excited about everything, and I'm happy to be here.
For England fans in mourning, don't worry. 22 days' time, there'll be a Premier League team taking part in Carabao Cup action. There is no break. There is no time off. 3 weeks from the end of the World Cup and we'll already be watching Villa play in the Carabao Cup. So don't worry. We've got 120 Premier League commentaries incoming here on talkSPORT. The first two games of the season, including Arsenal, Coventry and Hull against Manchester United. So domestic football will be back. Lots of transfers to talk about, but we still need to dissect this England situation. Tony Cascarino.
Are we still on England?
Oh, we will never get off it. I don't think. There's a third place playoff to talk about.
Oh yeah,
and a man who is in Miami for this third place playoff, and a man who I heard speaking with Adrian Durham yesterday and was not happy, is the wonderful Henry Winter, who joins us now. Henry, very good morning to you. How are you, sir?
Oh, yeah,
hi, Will. Hi, Tony. Not quite morning for me yet, middle of the night, but always happy to chat to you guys. I think I'm about the only man in Miami, actually, judging by the. I don't think many people are going to the Game of Shame, the third place playoff tomorrow or today, whenever it is.
Henry, I wanted to ask you, because the first thing I thought of when the playoff game is now upon England is that relationship during the week after getting knocked out. When you get beaten by Argentina in the manner, and then all the players have witnessed all the, the fallout and what's been said and who's been criticised. And I feel like as the week's gone on, Thomas Tuchel has literally dug his own grave. And look, we can all say how unfair it is, Henry, but it feels like he's saying a lot of stuff. The DNA has been mentioned. Me and Will have had discussions this morning about, I said about what was the issue you asked me, Will? You asked.
We've done so much in that first half an hour.
We've done so much. But Henry, just basically, what has happened in the days following the exit? What would you give the answer to?
Well, I think you're completely right. I don't know whether he's digging his own grave, but he's certainly digging a hole, and all we're seeing is sort of clumps of earth sort of coming flying out, sort of directed at all sort of people. I was expecting him to be more contrite today. I mean, he is walking into what could be a very painful afternoon at the Miami Stadium if France are up for this. And they've got so many good players outside their first 11 that if Deschamps does rotate, England are going to be in for a difficult afternoon. And at the moment, Tuchel's on shaky ground, and he absolutely cannot afford like a sort of 3-0 defeat. He can't afford a performance where his players don't look like they either understand what's going on, which I would doubt because they're an intelligent bunch and they are committed to the cause. But they have to be seen to be committed to Thomas Tuchel, because that's the debate at the moment. How much are the players convinced by him? Were senior players unhappy about some of the tactics in the second half? Well, the Anthony Gordon goal in Atlanta. So, yeah, I mean, I was surprised that he was so confident. Maybe he's had conversations with the Football Association, who are pretty adamant that their support is for him. He got them to a semi-final, but obviously, to be honest, I can't remember the country so angry or people so angry. I've not knocked on every door in the country and asked them, are you angry about England? But it seems to me the groundswell of not antipathy towards him, but just anger over the result is absolutely huge and is not abating.
I'm not going to lie, Henry, you sound a little calmer than you did when you spoke with Adrian yesterday. So maybe going through those stages of grieving, you've hit closer to acceptance. Let's hear from the England boss, who spoke with, you're not the only person on the ground there, the wonderful Faker Ruthers is out there as well, and spoke with Thomas Tuchel a little earlier this morning in the wee hours out in Miami. And still he's doubling down.
I'm proud of the 6.5 weeks. That I think that they build a brotherhood and a togetherness and the spirit on the highest level, and that I think that transmitted in the stadium towards the fans. And I think it is transcended through the TVs to our fans at home. Something to be very proud of, and that we will never compromise on that. That I still believe that we can find another level football-wise, that I saw a stronger in qualification football, where we had a new record in Europe in qualifying, and I saw, for example, in the last friendly match against Costa Rica, the behavior now against Argentina reminded me a little bit of the behavior in Croatia in the first half, when we dropped back and became more and more passive until we conceded. But we had half time to bring the team out of it. So, we obviously struggle in these kind of moments. So we have actually football matter to get better at. We reached the top 4. We were dreaming about the final. We were dreaming about the title. I think we still have a tiny gap to close towards France, Spain, and Argentina. And this is a nice role to be in, and starts from tomorrow.
Henry, you said if they lose 3-0 today, that could be a real problem for Thomas Tuchel. Is there a world where, if today is embarrassing, if they get absolutely shellacked playing a very strong team, that maybe the FA does start to think differently?
I mean, so much of their sort of credibility is tied up with Thomas Tuchel doing well, because they brought him in sort of post Southgate, post Carsley, and they gave him this 2-year extension on the eve of the tournament, was sort of slightly earlier, which was considered a rash thing to do. Slight echoes of Fabio Capello in 2010. I mean, it was different in terms of that was just a withdrawal of a clause. This is actually an extension. But I mean, tournaments should be performance related and wages should be performance related. And he hasn't achieved what everyone was hoping that he would achieve. He hasn't achieved what Gareth Southgate, and I was a critic at time of Gareth Southgate. He did get England to a game against Spain, a European final. Okay, not a world final, but still, it was an impressive achievement. And Tuchel was supposed to be the expert, the specialist, the man who could make all the sort of tactical tweaks late on in games and get England over the line. And he hasn't done that. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not simply this game, which, look, the Football Association are going to support him in, but the history of England managers, and I've been down this road, which often is a cul-de-sac many times with England managers, is that there's a danger after a tournament. It's the fixtures like Nations League, qualifiers, going into the new season. And it's not as if he's got an easy start to the new season. First game, Spain at home. Second game, Czechia, Czech Republic. Third game, Croatia, the last 2 away. That is a fairly brutal start to a Nations League campaign. There are no easy friendlies. There's no knockabouts against a sort of Rutland 11 just to sort of warm him up. This is serious stuff that he's going into. So France, and then these 3 games, and then there might be a change of mood But there are not going to be too many England fans, certainly not many of the hardcore will be there today at Miami Stadium. I mean, a fair few, and fair play to them, but quite a few have said, right, we've seen enough and have headed back home.
Yeah, look, there's one thing that stood out for me, Henry, is sometimes there's a danger of have the players had enough of him already? And I say that because he's not really shown much loyalty. He's made so many changes in every position. You know, from a defender, you can be a Nico Riley who played and then you're out the team, a Jed Spence who plays, then he's in the team. Mark Gay didn't play early on. You can literally go through a load of players who have played it seems so many in this tournament have had a bit part. No one apart from Kane and Bellingham have really been, Pickford probably added on to that as well, has been a certain starter for England. So I get this feeling that, do you know what? They're probably thinking, let's get back home and, and forget about Thomas Tuchel and what's gone on.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put Elliot Anderson into the mix of someone who has been. I mean, I think he's been outstanding. But no, your point is completely right. You know, apart from the spine, the slightly, and I completely don't understand it because I think he's England's most important player along with Harry Kane. But Tuchel, slightly prickly, challenging, almost unsympathetic relationship with Jude Bellingham, who is still young. He's only just turned 23, and he's just. Tuchel often gives me the impression when he deals with Bellingham that he treats him like a sort of slightly sort of mischievous son, and he just doesn't sort of work with him. He works against him and turns the Wi-Fi off if he's in a sort of mood with him. So yeah, I do find that very, very strange. But I think to put it into perspective, and I understand the anger of so many people back home, of you and many others, the fans as well, and I absolutely share that. To put it into perspective, a week ago, when England were here, they had a good time. I mean, it wasn't the best of results, but they had best of performances. It was a good result against Norway, and it was marching on to the semi-final, and then it all came unstuck in the second half. And so the suggestion also that the players have turned against him, when actually a week ago, we were all sort of talking about, look at the Declan Rice and John Stones having that little sort of jokey wind-up of Thomas Tuchel, that was very affectionate, and his response as well was someone who was obviously emotionally engaged with them. So, we can't flip-flop, and I'm guilty of it as much as anyone, particularly when you get angry about things. But there has to be a little bit of perspective. It wasn't all, it hasn't all been terrible for a long time. It's literally only since the Anthony Gordon goal onwards.
Yeah, the vibes were undoubtedly high. They are undoubtedly not anymore. The wonderful Henry Winter out in Miami. Thank you so much for joining us, Henry. Huge fan of everything you do. We will continue to talk about this game in the third place playoff. Of course, we'll also talk about the Open. Gets underway 9 a.m. this morning live over on talkSPORT 2. The Bryson DeChambeau story overnight, deducted 2 shots. We will get into that topic of conversation. We'll also talk about Sir Garfield Sobers, who sadly passed away overnight. A legend, a giant in the world of cricket. But while we're continuing to react to this huge summer of sport, here's what's coming up on talkSPORT today. So from 10 a.m. this morning, it is the warm-up with Max Rushton and Charlie Baker before Adam Cattrall and Sean Dyche are here for the World Cup weekend from 1 o'clock. The brilliant Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and Troy Deeney will bring you World Cup game day live from 4 p.m. They're out in New York ahead of Jamie O'Hara and Rory Jennings taking your calls at 6 o'clock. We want to take your calls as well, 037 1722 3344. And it's all building up to the game of shame, as Henry Winter described it just now. Sam Ellard presenting live commentary of the World Cup third place playoff between England and France. Do you know what the difference, if we win that game, is in prize money? £2 million. It's about 12% of Thomas Tuchel's payoff if we get rid of him. So I'm hoping we do win this game so the FA can boost their coffers and maybe make the right decision. That's all coming up on talkSPORT, so you don't miss a thing this summer. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast. Next up, we'll take a look at this morning's Bad Pages.
I wonder whether he went back, muscle memory, whether he's gone back to what happened against Mexico, where we dealt with 5 at the back and they threw things at. But this ain't Mexico.
There's 20 minutes left.
It's
20 minutes of normal time, Jace.
It's more than that.
And we had a man sent off against Mexico. You could almost accept it.
I know.
You're playing against Argentina.
Yeah.
You can't sit off for 25 minutes against Argentina. He absolutely bottled it. Thomas Tuchel's cost us the World Cup. He cost us the World Cup. We're 1-0 up. Played well first half. All right, cagey affair. We go 1-0 up. Be brave. Be brave, Thomas. This is what we brought you in for. We brought you in for this moment. We got rid of Southgate because he bottled it, because he weren't brave. We brought you in for now to make that decision. We're 1-0 up in a World Cup semi-final. Bring on Rashford. Bring on Saka. And if they score, they score. But at least we're going to go down fighting. At least we're going to go down with some pride. We fell out of the World Cup in disgrace because of him. Because of him. And we brought him in for this job. This is what we brought him in for, to get us over this line. And it's the same old England, same old crap, same old guff that I have to watch every tournament that we're in. And it's the manager's tucked us up again. Tucked us up. We're dead on our feet. Got Morgan Rogers playing right wing, Jude Bellingham on the left. Brings on Nico O'Reilly. We can't get out. Harry Kane's done nothing. He's dead. Nothing. Got nothing left.
I don't.
I can't believe it, Jace.
Well, no.
Jace, I can't believe it.
No,
It's a disgrace.
He
should be sacked. Get him out. Gone.
I totally agree. I can't believe that we've moved on from Southgate. And it was, if you look back over how we've limped out of World Cup or Euros, whatever, it was literally rinse and repeat. It's the same reasons. It was cowardice.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
Good morning, this is the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with me, Will Gavin, Tony Cascarino alongside me. We did have some awful news emerge from the world of cricket yesterday. The great Sir Garfield Sobers, the great West Indian cricketer, passed away at the age of 89. Garfield Sobers, rightly chosen as one of the leading 5 cricketers of the 20th century. He'll be remembered as arguably the greatest all-rounder in the history of the game. Here's talkSPORT's cricket editor, John Norman, who paid tribute to one of cricket's greats.
West Indies and Barbados cricket has lost its most famous son. For 20 years, Sir Garfield Sobers played at the highest level. And he played at the highest level better than pretty much anyone. He could bat, he could open the bowling with pace, and then he could come back again and bowl spin. He was the greatest athlete that cricket had ever seen. And over 20 years as an all-rounder, he played 93 tests, scoring 8,000 runs, and he took 235 wickets. In 1966, Garfield Sobers scored more runs than anybody else in the game, took more catches than any other fielder, and he took the 3rd most test wickets. Sir Garfield Sobers was cricket's GOAT. On the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, we often discuss and compare players with the past and those in the present. Glenn McGrath or Jasprit Bumrah, Imran Khan or Ben Stokes. Each discussion goes back and forth, it sparks debate, we talk for 10-20 minutes, and then at the end of it we still haven't come to a decision. But with Sobers, there was never any debate. Who was the greatest all-rounder that ever lived? It was Garfield Sobers. Who is the game's only 10 out of 10 player? It was Garfield Sobers.
A wonderful tribute from cricket editor John Norman. You can find more over on the talkSPORT cricket YouTube channel. And my kind of favourite story that we discussed with Garfield Sobers yesterday is that in 1966 he won the BBC World Sports Star of the Year. In the same year that also nominated were Pele and Muhammad Ali.
Oh, wow.
That is the level of greatness we are talking about with Garfield Sobers. So, wonderful, wonderful career, wonderful, wonderful man. Time in Nottingham will be well looked back on. So, wonderful tribute from John Norman.
1968, wasn't it? The 660s. Was it 1968?
66, he won it. Yeah, the 6 first ever 6 yeah.
I remember that as a little boy.
First ever 6 in world cricket.
I think 68.
Amazing, amazing. All right, let's delve into the back pages. Here comes the wonderful Oscar O'Kane. Oscar, good morning to you, sir. How are we doing?
Good morning, Will. Lovely to have you with us this morning. Cass, great to see you too. Yeah, obviously, I just wanted to, a fantastic, touching tribute from John Norman there. I just wanted to read out a few of the tributes that we've seen on the back pages as well. So Geoffrey Boycott said, anyone who saw him in his pomp will have wonderful memories of the greatest all-rounder, an icon, a once-in-a-lifetime cricketer, and even more important, a lovely man. The former Aussie captain turned TV commentator Richie Bernard said Sobers was the greatest all-round cricketer that the world has ever seen. We send our thoughts and condolences to his family and friends. One of the other stories that I wanted to touch on in the back pages was an exclusive piece by Carl Walker on his former Manchester City teammate Rodri, where they together under Pep Guardiola won 10 major trophies. The former Ballon d'Or winner, obviously Rodri, when he came back after that win, he struggled a lot, had a serious injury. But this tournament for Spain, he has absolutely been leading the way. And his performances have been superb. Sort of clearing out the stats, the top stats instead of the passing. He's created the most number of chances for Spain in this tournament. And he's been sensational for Spain, and him and Fabian Ruiz in that midfield too, especially against France, were outstanding. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, gents, is obviously there's a lot of talk about when we think about the player of the tournament. Obviously the attackers get all the headlines, the Messis, the Yamals, the Mbappes. But Rodri has been consistent for Spain throughout this entire tournament, and I'm wondering if Spain do get over the line, if they become world champions for the second time this century, is there a case to say that he could pick up player of the tournament?
Well, yeah, I don't think that'd be a debate. I think it depends how the final pans out. And just on Rodri himself, I did a piece on him over a year ago, and I remember talking about how long he'd been injured, the ACL that he had. I can't remember a player that took so long to get back to his best, because it was like, it's 2 years ago, isn't it? 2 years plus, that terrible injury he had. And boy, it took him forever. And we all wondered whether he'd get back to his best. We've seen it in this tournament that he is absolutely back on his game again. It feels strange that he might leave Man City this summer.
We've got this wild situation as well where you have two players who are massive outsiders for the Ballon d'Or going into the World Cup in Rodri and Lionel Messi. And actually, if one of them has a big impact in the final and they win the game tomorrow, they could end up coming from like 50-1 outside shots to storming all the way to winning the biggest award for an individual in world football. And if Rodri becomes a two-time Ballon d'Or winner, like only 10 players have done that ever. Just astonishing to think of.
I'm just delighted that he's back to his best, because Rodri is a player that can control the midfield like no other. I think he's been the best. He never gives away the ball. He won the ball back incredibly for Man City. We didn't see it last season though a lot. Rodri wasn't back for his best at Man City. Towards the end of the season, he showed he was getting close, and in this tournament we've seen he's absolutely back now.
And just a fun little piece as well. Stings Can Only Get Better by John Cross, which is brilliant. Jude Bellingham has called for unity following the fallout from England's World Cup exit. He believes that England will go on to achieve great things. Just a really quick one. Sean Dyche on Breakfast on Friday said that this was England's greatest time to win a World Cup. He thinks in his lifetime this was their best opportunity. Harry Kane is only getting older. Some of these stars, we just mentioned it off air, the likes of the Ezri Konsas, the Ezes, they're only going to be getting older. Cass, do you think that England have blown one of their best chances to win the World Cup?
Not really, no, because I don't think they were good enough to win it. I didn't think, I'd never ever once said, I thought England would go deep, but I didn't think they'd win it. So I don't think it was an opportunity pass. If you'd have said, did the French miss it? I know they've won, obviously, tournaments in recent years, in 2018 anyway, but the French have missed a glorious opportunity because I think they were good enough to win it. I think that's gone past them, but not England. I just didn't think they had enough.
It's really 2018 is a really interesting point, actually, Cass, because actually you win that game against Croatia. You're going up against a good France team, but Kylian Mbappe's only, 18, 19 years old. They're still developing. It's the first tournament under Deschamps. You'd probably argue we had a better chance of beating them in that final than we would have done going on to play Spain this weekend. Like, I would have fancied us more in 2018 than I would have done today. But the Harry Kane point is very valid. We look through the squad. There's a lot of players hitting 28, 30 years old. So it's a very valid point. Oscar, great stuff from you. Thank you so much. I'm going to read this word for word, what's been written in my script here, but I'm not happy about it. Coming up in the next hour, we'll look ahead to the third place game we're all excited for. England v France. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast on talkSPORT.
Now, we get the inevitable fallout after a World Cup, and there are reports that one or two of the England players were very surprised that we went ultra defensive in that closing stage of the game. And we were saying earlier on to Stan Collymore that there's a lot of making up to be done by Thomas Tuchel. A lot of people now would have lost trust and belief maybe in his methods, and that would include fans, it would include media, and he's going to have a very prickly time with the media, I guess, over the next 2 years, and maybe some of the players as well, Adrian.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's it's a big moment in his England career. Everything had been okay and judgment had been on hold, but judgment was always going to come with what happened at this World Cup, because he was brought in to win the World Cup. And there's no shame in losing to the reigning champions. Argentina have still got a player like Messi, who is the best we'll ever see in our lifetime, but it's the manner in which you lose that game, and that manner was not acceptable. Since then, he's come out and basically said, oh, it's the player's fault, not mine. That's how it could be interpreted, and I think that's not going to go down very well. Certainly doesn't go down well with me, because he's been in the job long enough now, and he should have studied it in the remember the 6 months he had off before taking the job? Well, in that time, he should have studied the England DNA. We all know about the England DNA.
Yeah.
Your job, mate, is to come in and change that DNA. And if you can't do it, then off you pop, because you're not welcome. You've got nothing to offer us if you can't change that DNA. And actually, the last couple of games, Norway and Mexico, he's been adhering to that DNA, playing up to that DNA. So if he needed something different, he should have already done something about it in meeting rooms, classrooms, on a training pitch. He's had enough time at this World Cup to really work hard with these players.
In the history of football, there may never have been a better player than Edson Arantes do Nascimento. This guy, the most decorated player in World Cup history. Imagine being 17 and playing at a World Cup. Well, not only did Pelé achieve that, he was probably Brazil's best player in 1958, even with a baby face like this. He scored 6 goals in their run to what would be Brazil's first World Cup triumph. Pelé was the talk of world football and was swamped everywhere he went. He was expected to be the main character in Chile 1962 as well, but in just the second group stage game, he tore his calf, and that was his World Cup done. As you can see, Brazil still won it all. 4 years of recovery and rediscovering his magic form in front of goal led to 1966, another tournament that for him wouldn't go to plan. Pelé was targeted by Bulgaria and Portugal in the groups, and after being kicked all over the park by the Portuguese, he eventually had to be carried off the field at Goodison. And that was it. Brazil were knocked out at the group stage for the first and only time. He vowed never to play in a World Cup again, such was his fury at Portugal's antics on Merseyside. But he came back for 1970, where we saw maybe the greatest team in World Cup history. It's actually pretty unanimous. Some say that team brought about the term beautiful game, or jogo bonito in Brazil's native tongue. That team blitzed the competition in Mexico, and it all led to this. Across his career, he scored so many goals, he's even recognised by Guinness as the world record holder. I mean, just look at that. 1,283. Madness. Thanks, Ronnie, we know. At the World Cup, he bagged 12 in 14 games. I mean, talk about a strike rate. Around the world, we all debate our country's greatest player. In Brazil, they debate who's second, behind the only man to have won 3 World Cups, a man who they call O Rei, the King.
This is the World Cup weekend sports breakfast. I'm Will Gavin, and whilst we lambast the 3 Lions, we have a lion of our own in the studio, Millwall Hall of Famer Tony Cascarino alongside me.
Good morning.
Beautiful stuff. Now it's the World Cup final that never was, as England wrap up their tournament against France in the 3rd place playoff. Ahead of the game, Thomas Tuchel doubled down on his controversial second half substitutions that triggered their exit to Argentina.
If you're asking if I regret my decision, if this is the question, then say no, I don't regret my decisions. I felt that we become too passive. I felt that we the momentum switches in the match, and I tried to help my team.
We weren't the only fan base let down after tournament favourites France were knocked out by European champions Spain. 1998 World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit said the nation is in mourning.
Emotionally, it was really sad, when I get back home, by bicycle, I crossed the whole street and I saw so many disappointing supporters. They were so sad. So at the end of the day, it's just football.
Don't forget, England-France is live tonight on talkSPORT at 10 p.m. Tomorrow, the biggest game in world football takes centre stage in New York. It's Spain against Argentina. Chelsea legend Graham Lasseau has praised the spectacular style of football that got Spain to the final. Don't forget, the World Cup will be live on talkSPORT tomorrow from 8 p.m. You can get in touch with the show this morning. You can give us a call. 0371722 3344 is the number to call. You can text 81089, or you can get us on WhatsApp on that same number. That's 03717 22 3344. Cass, we've obviously talked a lot of England already this morning. Hearing that John Stones clip in the news, we'll hear a little more from him in a short while. He sounds a broken man after Wednesday. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about the Open. Coverage continues today, live on talkSPORT 2 from 9 a.m. Every single major moment you will hear on talkSPORT 2 today. It's a real shame that as Lucas Herbert hits the lowest round in Open history, that's not going to be the topic of conversation that everyone's going to be getting into as we head into round 3.
And Sam Byrne
What a day.
Sam Byrne did the same feat. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And yet-
two of them.
Yeah. And yet.
Me and you kicked off this morning, didn't we?
Yeah, no, it kicked off. It was a sparky debate in the office at 5:30 a.m. Bryson DeChambeau receives a 2-shot deduction that sees him drop to 5 under, which sees him drop from 1 shot off the lead to 3 shots off the lead. After he walked over to his ball, he saw the lie, and he stood behind the ball, bedding down the grass behind it, supposedly to improve his backswing, and he was immediately deducted 2 shots.
Yeah.
He's claimed now he may not play today. He was out there swinging.
He'll play.
He was out there swinging the club at 10:30 p.m. last night. He was out there still driving, but he said afterwards he's not sure whether he's going to play today or not. Thoughts?
He will definitely be out there. I think he'll put it to bed. Look, golf can be really harsh sometimes, and I said to you, I don't know how. When you're alleged to, if you trample down grass behind the ball, and look, there's so much long grass around him. I didn't know where he was meant to put his feet. I think it was inevitable somewhere along the line he was going to have to. He's in literally long grass.
But there's 2 places you don't put your feet in that situation, and you are trained from being a junior about the rule about stamping grass around the ball is you do not put your feet directly in front of the ball where it can affect the flight, or behind the ball where it can affect your backswing. And in the first 5 seconds after approaching the ball, he walks directly behind it and tramples the grass behind it. You can argue intent, you can argue it was harsh or not, but I think if they don't come down on Bryson DeChambeau in that situation, then everyone would start accusing them of dereliction of duty. Everyone would start questioning the integrity of the sport. It might be harsh. There may not have been intent. I think they have to take those 2 shots off him.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, look, what does a golfer do when he gets? First of all, he's looking for the shot he can play, where he can hit the ball, what part of the green can he get to? Can he get near the pin? All these things are going through his mind of what can he do, and it's easy to sit back and go, well, he's just walked straight behind the ball. I think there's a big thing about intent. Is it deliberate? If you're deemed as getting an advantage, because I don't like the word cheating in, as we know, that's one of the worst things you can say in golf. Anyone accuses you of cheating or getting an advantage, I just feel it's a bit harsh. Look, I totally get what you're saying, Will. If you think about it, and if he was in that moment again, he probably wouldn't have walked. But yeah, I think you can literally see him. He's trying to find the best angle for the shot.
From my perspective, it's more his reaction to it afterwards as well. You've made.
What did you expect though?
Well, yeah, that's a fair point. But this isn't a guy who's in his mid-30s and just picked up golf during COVID. He is a player who has played this sport since he was, knee-high to a grasshopper, who has been professional now for 11 years, who played college golf before that. Like, he knows what the rules are, and generally, when there's a grey area, they do tend to favour the player. There was a famous incident at the US Open this year with Wyndham Clark on the 9th, where it was all over social media. Everyone lambasted the USPGA for not coming down on him, but there was a grey area. There was intent. There was
Jordan Spieth,
and so they recommended
as well. Grey area.
Yeah. And I think they tend to favour the players in that situation. But what Bryson has to do is that when he's done it, and even if it is a mistake, he has to accept it. He has to accept that is the situation, and instead of respecting the game and moving on, and I get emotions are high.
Well, he could disagree with
and
it.
It's competing, but there's disagreeing with it, and there's throwing your toys out. And there's behaving like an absolute man-child on the course, and then there's threatening to not play tomorrow. That's a very different.
Okay, that's an emotional moment. Okay, now if he turns up and plays today, he's accepted it.
I suppose.
Of course,
but that doesn't mean.
I guarantee he'll be out there today. I guarantee he'll be out there. And he's going to take it off the chin, and anything it might inspire him a little bit more. But he doesn't have to accept it if he believes it was wrong on him. And now we can all debate it. They've made a decision. I just feel golf is pretty harsh on the rules. There's a lot. I mean, even if you play like we do and you have a bit of fun, I mean, you get your one player in your group all telling you every rule. I mean, there's a million. There's a million rules in golf.
Yeah, no one likes the rules analyst. No one likes the guy that's going to be cracking down on you. Of course they don't.
Did you see the caddy of who was the player that who was the player? Was it that the caddy had like literally the distance where you could.
Yeah.
He had that, but they take the batteries out.
Right. Okay.
So it's legal.
It was.
So then it's like having
Lucas
binoculars.
It was Lucas Herbert's caddy.
Yeah,
And obviously, he goes round and has the great.
Oh,
greatest
Lucas
round in-
Herbert's caddy, yeah. But again, that was in question. That was questioned as it was going on. Is that allowed? And then they found out afterwards that they take all batteries out of these. Obviously,
So he doesn't get the electronic readings. They're
Yes,
essentially just a
exactly.
pair of
There's no
binoculars at
advantage.
that point. Right.
But he's got a pair of binoculars, and that's it.
You played in World Cups. You understand high-level competition far better than I do, who, played county rugby up until the age of 17. I'm not somebody who understands high-level competition in the same way. And I get angry, and I get intense.
Now,
if
many
I'm
a
out
daft
on the
thing
course.
on the football
But
pitch.
I just don't think we should accept it because Bryson DeChambeau has priors, that he should be allowed to behave like that.
No, okay. Well, I'll be interested to see what other people do within the game. I think the players themselves will be, there'll be mixed reaction to it. There'll be some that will go, yes, but the actual letter of the law is he has to take a 2-shot penalty. And then others will be going a little bit more lenient and giving examples, because we all give examples. We can all do that, can't we, of scenarios that have developed. So it's a harsh. Golf is really, really hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what makes me laugh more than anything about golf, Will? Right? It's frowned upon, isn't it? Like cheating in golf. It's really that ruins your career. Yet the amateurs all cheat.
Are you telling us you cheat when you're...
No, they do. Loads of but
sneaky
people
ball
go to the golf
in the
course.
pocket that you drop out because you can't find yours. Is that what you're telling us, Cass?
But Will, there's people who go to golf courses and play this game, and they'll be like, they know all the guys who to get like do
Miscounting your shots.
Oh, exactly.
That's definitely a four. Definitely a four.
Yeah, It makes me laugh because the fans who play golf, who are not professional, they're the biggest cheats in the world of any sport. in golf.
It's wonderful, wonderful stuff. Listen, next up, you get to
Great arguments on golf courses. I've had some great ones.
Well, listen, Rupert Bell, I'm sure, has as well. talkSPORT's posh sports correspondent will be joining us at 8:30 this morning, and we'll get his thoughts on the Bryson DeChambeau situation. We'll return our attention back to the third place playoff. But next up, put the kettle on as we enjoy a weekly cappuccino with Cascarino.
Up until 72 minutes, we were going to get into the World Cup. Oh, we weren't crap.
The goal,
right.
the
We
goal
weren't- we
was
weren't
a
crap.
wonderful ball from Morgan Rogers.
Yeah.
But I'm asking you to put your playing hat on now.
Yeah.
You're Argentina. Is that a good goal, or has they switched up at the back post?
That's a bad goal. You switched off. The right back, or was it the right back? Doesn't
Yeah,
it
but
doesn't even react.
why does that need to criticise a bad goal for England? It was a great goal. We went 1-0 up. It's a great cross.
It was a
Good.
great
Why
cross.
can't you
Decent
argue that Gordon lost his man to score the goal?
Because the geezer doesn't even see him.
Well,
It doesn't go
there
like.
must be a reason for that.
He doesn't run and go boom boom. He just runs and the guy's like, oh my man.
Troy, you can't criticise a goal that we
I'm
scored.
not criticising it. I'm saying we didn't play well. We had 5 shots in the whole game.
Yeah.
They had 5 on target. Remember, they don't call the 2 that hit the post on target.
Yeah, but
so
man
they had
for
the same
man-
amount of shots.
But man for man, they're better than us. But
No, they're not.
Oh, well, they are.
No, they're not.
Not man for man, they're not.
Man for man, they're better than us.
Well, last night they were.
Yeah, but still, I think maybe you maybe at a stretch, maybe 3 of their players maybe gets into the England.
Exactly. And they're not man for man better than us. What they can do better, and well, this is why I thought Messi's greatness yesterday really showed.
Yeah.
Because when they were 1-0 down, there was 40 minutes left, he went, give me the ball. He lost it a few times, give it me again. He hit crosses over, give it me again. Don't worry, just keep giving it me because I know I'm going to do it. Everyone in their team went, there's 2 lines. You can either be, I'm going to be the person who doesn't make a mistake, I'm going to be the person who wins the game. Everyone in their team and their bench went, we're going to win the game, I'm going to be the man.
Yeah.
Our team went, don't be the one to make the mistake.
No.
And we played with fear. Now, that doesn't always come from the manager, that comes from the players within. One person I do want to give a shout, because I've been very harsh on him with this whole thing. Jed Spence was top draw.
Yeah, he was.
Was top draw. So I give credit where it's due. But we've got top players, apparently. Where were they?
ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
Producer Gabs, you are correct. I do know this song, now that I've heard it. There we go. This is the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast, live on talkSPORT, on YouTube and on your smart TV. I'm Will Gavin, and the Gillingham legend, Tony Cascarino, is alongside me. That's Danza Kuduro by Lucenzo and Don Omar. Did I get that right? Yep. Good. Thanks, guys. The Gen Zs on the other side of the glass all nodding along to the unk, trying to get these things right. Why are we playing that? Well, because it's happy birthday to Hollywood action star Vin Diesel. Is that what we're doing? Is that where we've gone with the show today? Wonderful. The face of Fast and the Furious, whose high-octane franchise has raked in over $7 billion at the worldwide box office. How old do you think Vin Diesel is?
No idea. 40.
59.
9.
59. that is. Are you a big Fast and the Furious guy, Cass?
Oh, no, I've got a joke to that. I can't say.
I meant for the movie, not your personal life.
No. Well, yeah.
Tony Cascarino, too fast, too furious, but we won't mention where.
Yeah. No, I have seen them, but no, it wouldn't be my type of film.
What's your go-to action film?
Action? I'm not mad on action.
Okay, so what's your go-to then?
Films. I like stories and real stories.
Okay. You're going to go see The Odyssey? That's the hot one right now.
Well, yeah, but that's based on the Greek.
Yeah, the Iliad.
Homer, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've heard I've read some stuff about that. That sounds like a bit of a mad.
They're calling it the greatest movie of all time. Like, it's getting 5 stars blanket.
Is it? I will have to go and see it then.
I want to go see it at the BFI IMAX. It's sold out for the next 5 weeks. You cannot get a ticket for it. So
you can't pay like when they're doing the World Cup.
No dynamic pricing here. No £1.7 million ticket for me to go to see the Odyssey at the IMAX.
Odyssey, yeah.
Unfortunately. Look, loads of you getting in touch on the texts and on the phones as well. 03717 22 3344 is the number to call. We will get to some of your calls in a short while, but right now, you know what we're here for. You know what time it is. Time for a little bit of this.
A cappuccino with Cascarino on talkSPORT. Yummy.
That voice is too sensual for 7:15 in the morning on a Saturday. Cass, what are you serving up for us?
Well, I kept thinking about the World Cup during the week and England's exit, and taking me back to 1998 when I was living in France when they won the World Cup. And look, there's been a show on talkSPORT of how to win the World Cup, and all this has gone. Emmanuel Petit was talking about certain things, and I was lucky enough. I'm going to name drop here. I was lucky enough to sit down with Aimé Jacquet because I was playing for Nancy Football Club, and his son was in the academy, and he came in. It was about 2 months before the World Cup started in France, and he was under, by the way, severe pressure because the French media, the French public didn't believe Aimé Jacquet was the manager for them to win the World Cup. And I sat down and we were chatting, and he basically said to me, he said, there's 2 things with the French team why we can win it. He said, 1, we've got the best number 10 in the world, which was Zidane. He said, and he's a difference maker. And his second was, defensively, we're terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, just to let people know, in France 98, for as great as the team they were and they beat Brazil in the final, France conceded 2 goals in the whole campaign.
People forget about the 0-0 draw with Italy, which was one of the most attritional games of football I think I've ever watched. Like, they were a team who could get down and dirty.
Yeah, well, if you go through World Cups, and this is where I'm bringing it onto sort of England, really. If you go to 98, France conceded 2 goals and Zidane was the difference. Everything Aimé Jacquet said, by the way, came true. because Zidane was man of the tournament. He made the difference for France so often, and they were defensively, they were sound. And then if you go back to World Cups previous, and even after that, Italy in 2006 conceded 2 goals. Spain in 2010 conceded 2 goals in the whole tournament. All right, so then you get to today, and you've got Spain in the final. So far, they've conceded 1 goal. Right, so why I talked about England earlier and why they couldn't win the World Cup in my opinion, England have conceded 7 in this tournament. Right,
we see 2 goals in the opening game.
If you had said that Kane would get 6 and Bellingham would get 6, you'd say England got to be in the final. They've got to have gone really dead. They would have had a great chance of winning it. But their goals against column tells you everything why England didn't win the tournament. And by the way, Pickford made enough saves in the tournament as well that it could have easily got to 10, conceded 10 in the tournament. That's why England have fallen really short. And that's why I believe Thomas Tuchel didn't trust his back line. Now, you can all talk about squads before they start, who should be in it, and there was mistakes made, without a doubt. But if you're going to have any chance of winning the World Cup, Thomas Tuchel can't be changing the back 4 or going to back 5 so often, because it's telling you there's a real weakness. Even before the tournament, most of us spoke about the heart of the defence was an issue. Whether it be Mark Gay was not in the best of form at the end of the season for Man City. John Stones was in and out of the team. He's played. Konza wasn't as good as what he was at the start of last season for Villa as a defender. Jed Spence was in and out. You've got O'Reilly likewise. And I've missed out players that I haven't mentioned. England's back line was the reason why, as in the whole team, you cannot concede 7 goals. And think of how easy England's groups and games were.
As much as I think you're absolutely right, and the Mexico performance I think gave people a lot of belief in the back line because they were so good defending at 10 men, and for that half an hour they had that siege mentality. Did we see the signs of what we saw against Argentina, against Norway? Because in that game, he switched from a back 4 to a back 5 to a back 4 again to wing backs. Like, he was all over the shop with how he affected that back line. And it was, Jude Bellingham was bailing us out again. But I think those signs were there ahead of Argentina. This wasn't a new thing.
No, England were conceding goals. I mean, Congo had scored against England. Mexico had got a couple against England. Norway had scored against England. Croatia scored 2 against England. So this common theme was all the way through the tournament. And then Argentina have scored. They've ended up getting 2 against England as well. So this is nothing new. England conceded way too many goals.
You mentioned the Pickford saves. Just one quick one on this. Do you think the criticism he's received is fair? And can you imagine him still being the starting goalkeeper in the Euros in 2 years' time?
Don't know. Don't know if there's a good enough number 1 to replace him at the moment. I'm more in the camp of Dean Henderson having an opportunity. I think
if Trafford ends up becoming the starting keeper at Man City, that
maybe that. But then there's a lot of ifs there, isn't there? Yeah. If he is the goalkeeper, that Emi Jackie conversation stuck with me all my career with how he saw England winning the World Cup. France win the World Cup, and he based it really on 2 things: having the best number 10, and you could, argue many other ways that they had winning players. But certainly defensively, you cannot go and concede like England have in a World Cup and even have a chance of winning, conceding regularly. And Spain will prove that, I think, this weekend. Argentina have conceded goals as well. That's what I think the difference is in the 2 teams.
Cass, thank you. That was Cass's weekly cappuccino. A reminder on our latest competition. Do you want a chance to win £26,000 in tax-free cash? Because we're giving away the big bucks. Fund your summer and enter right now. Head to talksportwin.com to enter and to find T's and C's. And don't forget, England are playing tonight. 10 p.m. kickoff against France in the doomed third-place playoff, the game of shame. Up next, we'll talk about a game that actually matters, the World Cup final, Spain against Argentina. You are listening to World Cup Weekend Breakfast here on talkSPORT.
85th minute comes and we're still 1-up, and we've been attacking, and we've still created chances, but it hasn't quite gone in.
Yeah.
But we're 1-up,
Yeah.
and Rashford's on the pitch.
Yeah.
And Saka's
Yeah,
on the
go on,
pitch.
keep going. I'm gonna
In the
hit this.
85th minute,
Yeah.
it brings on Dan Burn.
No.
Lovely
No. We get done the counter attack. We can say. We can say.
What do you mean?
I just told you the scenario.
No, but that scenario's absolute crap.
No, it's
that scenario wouldn't have happened.
Jay, I'm just trying to paint you a picture about how we could lose the game in a different way, based on what. Jay, I'm with you. Don't get angry with me.
No, I am getting angry.
No, don't get angry
You're
with me.
trying to tell me how I'm going to feel about a situation.
And you'd sit there and go, "Oh, well done, boys. Glorious failure. We had a right go. Right go at the post cup time. Got done in 2 counter attacks. Fine. Go out in your shield." No way. No way you'd sit there and say that.
I would have sat there and I would have accepted it because I watched
you.
4 bloody tournaments.
I don't believe you.
Of England.
I don't believe
doing
you.
exactly what we did last night.
I don't believe you.
And if we'd gone out with Rashford and Saka on the pitch.
I don't believe you.
And still trying to attack, and we get done,
do you know what
then
we'd
we
be sitting
get
there?
done.
Do you know what we'd be sitting there now? We'd be saying, how can Thomas Tuchel allow us to get done on the counter-attack twice, 85th and 92nd minute? How can that happen? You'll be saying the same thing, and it'll be a different conversation based on what the evidence is in front of you. You would.
Don't tell me how I'm going to feel.
Oh, you'd accept it, would you?
Oh, I've told you 10 times.
No chance. No chance. I know you too well. No chance. I wouldn't accept it. I wouldn't accept it. I'd be saying, why has he not gone 5 at the back? Why is he not? He's 85th minute on the counter-attack. Listen, we agree. I'm just trying to...
No, you're not agreeing. You're not agreeing.
No,
you're not agreeing.
No, I am...
No, you're trying to wind me up.
No, I'm not. Jay, 100% I'm agreeing with you. Jay, 100% I'm agreeing with you.
You're not agreeing with me. You're not agreeing with me.
This is the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with me, Will Gavin, and the former Nazi striker, Tony Cascarino. Some great stories coming out of him today. I tell you for now, some headlines this morning. Argentina's President Javier Milei won't be attending the World Cup final with Donald Trump and Gianni Infantino, instead choosing to watch it at home because he's a superstitious man. I back it. I've not backed a lot of things Argentina have done, but I'm behind that. talkSPORT understands Newcastle United have seen a £46 million bid for Lucas Bergvall rejected by Tottenham Hotspur. And talkSPORT's Jamie O'Hara has called for Thomas Tuchel to be sacked as England boss. Is that a get? Or just keep doing it? Just keep churning it. He's on today from 6 o'clock with Rory Jennings taking your calls. His emotional reaction to the 2-1 semi-final loss has gone truly viral. Here's US broadcaster and Fox Sports' Nick Wright on how it's taken all off over the States.
The first clip I saw was with the fellow who's not here, right? I shouldn't
Rory
say fella.
Jennings.
I'm
Rory,
on with you
yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
I should say the chap, the lad, Rory, who was trying to bait you into saying Messi couldn't get minutes even off the bench for this dominant England team. And you wouldn't take the bait. And before I did TV, I did talk radio for my whole career. I was just a talk radio guy. And I was like, oh, I get it. Rory's kind of more the flamethrower, and you're more like the measured adult in the room. And then the next clip I see was you being like, sack him! Sack him! He's got to go! He's bottled it again! And I was like, these guys are me! All with Colin Cowherd.
That's
I'm
it,
like, this is meant to be.
It is astonishing. I'm obviously a guy, as you know, Tony. I do the NFL here at talkSPORT. I follow my American sports stations. I saw that Jamie had been on with Colin Cowherd, who is a broadcasting legend in America. He's all over sports talk radio in the States. Nick Wright, who I saw him tweeting about. I text Nick and was like, would you come on the show? Because we'd love to get you on. I tuned into his show, First Things First, on Fox that night, on Thursday night. And the first clip I see is they're talking about their ups and downs from the World Cup semi-finals. It's him talking about Jamie O'Hara and Rory Jennings on Fox Sports on their key breakfast show, playing clips from the sports bar. And do you know what? Do you know what he called Jamie O'Hara?
Go on.
He said, compared to Rory Jennings, Jamie O'Hara is a seasoned journalist. I love Nick Wright, but you know, a little respect was lost in that moment.
I mean, look, I've listened to the sports bar for a long time because I'm coming back sometimes late from a poker game in London, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and I'm listening and I'm laughing my socks off at some of the things. Because one day Jamie can say, it's the greatest ever.
Yeah.
And tomorrow night, he's got to go. Yeah. And it's literally that. But it's funny to listen to for me. You know, I try to give... I'm not saying Jamie doesn't, or, you know, and Jason's in that world as well now that, you know, Jason's going after a lot of people. And I've known him since he was a young lad at Chelsea, right? He's very funny.
Yeah.
He loves a prank. He loves a prank. And he's sometimes butter wouldn't melt in his mouth with the way he says things, but I know that he's winding people up and he's getting a bit of a kick out of it, Jason. So there is something to say for it. I mean, you can get so emotional over sport, can't you, Will? I'm sure you've done it with American football where I've done it. I've done it this morning about what I said about Thomas Tuchel. I try and be pragmatic, but it's really hard when I think deep down that is the worst management I've seen. I've never been a coach, so you can never go at me for that. I've never coached him. But honestly, I would never have made a bigger pig's ear than that, what he did in midweek.
Tony, my belief on this is that everyone keeps talking about whether the FA should sack Thomas Tuchel. And the FA have made a grave error back in February when Man United came sniffing around Thomas Tuchel as potentially their replacement if they weren't going to stick with Michael Carrick. The FA panicked and gave him a 2-year extension instead of the original plan. Back in January 2025, we're going to give you a contract to the end of the World Cup. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to give you £8 million a year. We're going to make it worth your while, but we're going to base it on your performance. And then they panic, they give him this 2-year extension, and they back themselves into a corner. The FA can't afford to pay him £16 million to pay off the next 2 years' contract. How many 4G pitches does that pay for youth?
Okay.
Like, they have absolutely backed themselves to a corner. But for me, and Rory Jennings said this on air, and I've said this over on the S Word, over on the talkSPORT YouTube channel, if Steve Clarke came into this tournament as a hero for Scotland, but he had an absolute shocker. He had a shocker tactically, he had a shocker with his teams, he had a shocker with the media. And after the tournament, despite signing his own 2-year extension, he had the self-respect to look at the situation and say, do you know what? I'm not right to take this team forward and I'm going to walk away. Thomas Tuchel shouldn't be sacked. Thomas Tuchel should resign as England manager. He should hold his hands up. He should accept responsibility and say, do you know what? I was wrong. Because if we go into a home Euros, which we have a legitimate chance of winning, where we've got truly world-class players who are still going to be at their peak, and we do the same thing we did on Wednesday night, everyone's going to be looking at the FA and everyone's going to be looking at Thomas Tuchel and everyone's going to be saying, what if? What if we'd gone and got Pep Guardiola 2 years ago? What if we'd given Eddie Howe a chance?
Yeah, but England are not going to get Pep Guardiola.
He'd agreed to the job. Before Thomas Tuchel came in, he had a verbal agreement and then he decided to stay with Man City. So if that's the case, he's at least shown interest in it. He's at least shown the willingness.
Maybe one day.
At least go to the door. At least knock on his door and just say, Pep, what's it going to take?
I just don't see it. But hey, if it happens for England, fantastic for England. But by the way, there's no guarantee that proven managers in club football become great international managers that win things either.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
There's a lot
if
of evidence.
If anything, it's the opposite.
Yeah, it's
Fabio
absolutely.
Capello, Sven
Yeah,
Göran
there's
Eriksson,
loads
time and
of
time
them.
again.
Yeah, there is, Scolari, I did it with Brazil that had a really difficult time. When he won the World Cup and then went to club football. The club, and what I'm doing, I'm showing both sides. Club to international and international to club doesn't work out all like we think it should do.
Let's give it to Anthony Barry.
Can I just say one thing as well?
Yeah, we do need to get to Argentina. Gab's head is going to explode next door.
Just quickly, there is a way you can still be beaten by Argentina. That all this has happened afterwards. That you could
100%,
and that is going to miss. England could have been beaten by a wonder goal, or hit the woodwork, or their goalkeeper made lots of saves. That all them scenarios would have made it a lot easier to accept for England.
We could have lost 3-0 to them, and I would have been happier with what happened and what happened on Wednesday, because we threw it away, because we let it slip through our fingers. We gave it to them. Anyway, on the top of Argentina, it's time now to round up all the latest tournament action with Burger King.
The Breakfast Briefing on talkSPORT with Burger King Burger Buddies. Total tournament satisfaction delivered by the experts. Order now on the BK app.
While England cowardly shrank away in Atlanta, Argentina's number 10 was not finished making his mark on the biggest stage. Leo Messi will now play in his third World Cup final, the oldest outfield player to ever appear on that stage. Let's get the latest ahead of the game tomorrow with South American podcaster, host of the Copper Club podcast, Nathan Joyce. Nathan, very good morning to you, sir.
Hi, Nathan.
Did you ever doubt that Argentina were going to come back in that game when on 60 Minutes Jed Spence makes that sliding tackle and England fans are feeling themselves?
Morning, chaps. Look, I know the talk is around Thomas Tuchel and the mistakes he made, but I think we have to give a lot of credit to Argentina. How many times have we seen clubs, countries put 10 men behind the ball and it's difficult to break down? Once again, Lionel Scaloni's tactics and his substitutions were on point, and the role of Messi in that game was just fantastic to watch once again, almost finishing the game as the number 6, number 8. And it worked, and look, Argentina deserved to be in the final, unfortunately for England fans.
Yeah, Nathan, the one standout feature, or there was a couple, was that Enzo Fernandez probably had 4 shots from the edge of the box during the second half. And also, they took, I think, 4 or 5 short corners consecutively that England didn't deal with. But that was the brilliance of Argentina, recognising that they were the prey and they were hunting down England. And it was absolutely, they knew in the moment, like the manager, that England were there for the taking.
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't panic, and it was exactly like the Egypt game when they went 2-0 down and they just were calm and trusted the process. They trusted that Scaloni would come up with another plan, and I think that's what Spain are going to be worried about here. Scaloni has a plan B, C, D, and he has 5 or 6 players who he trusts off the bench, all fit in different formations. Now, I think England expected Argentina to whip the crosses in and whip corners in, but instead they just looked to take it short, catch England out, whilst England were trying to catch and draw breath from the situation because of the onslaught of pressure, and they couldn't cope with it. And that's what calmness does in that sort of situation. That's where you can spot the gaps. And Enzo Fernandez, he had a phenomenal game. And maybe it was down to changing his boots. He came out afterwards in an interview and said he reverted to boots he wore in 2022. And maybe that's why it came off for him.
So why do the fans act the same way? Because the fans of Argentina don't react go quiet. They, if anything, they really believe their team can do it.
I mean, how can you not believe a team when they've got Lionel Messi on the pitch? But it's not just Lionel Messi, is it? They've got Julian Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez, De Paul came off the bench. It's just whoever they bring on, it doesn't replace, or the quality doesn't drop, where I think with England, that's what happened. There wasn't enough in reserve. And then in that last 20 minutes, Argentina thrive when they go behind, or they thrive when the game's 0-0 in a situation, because yes, a lot of knockout games have gone to extra time, but they've just drowned and swarmed their opponents. And I think the environment suits them, the heat. I also think that the fact that there's going to be a huge Argentinian support at this final will play an advantage as well. So the crowd definitely gets swept up in the moment, but the players are super professional. This is why they're Copa America champions. This is why they've won the World Cup. They've been there and done that. And it's quite a surprise to see them as outsiders to win this on Sunday.
Nathan, wonderful stuff from you. Thank you so much for joining us. The great Nathan Joyce from the Copper Club podcast. Do go check out his fine work online. That was a roundup of all the latest action, all thanks to Burger King.
The Breakfast Briefing on talkSPORT with Burger King Burger Buddies. Iconic winners delivered in the box every time. Order now on the BK app.
a really interesting point on that we'll get into maybe a little bit later on when you talk about the Argentine mentality, how they play for their national team. Where was this Enzo Fernandez for Chelsea this season? Where was this Christian Romero for Tottenham this season? Where was this Alex McAllister for Liverpool this season? These are players at the top tier of the Premier League, none of whom have been brilliant in the Premier League this season, and yet all look world class when they play in that Argentinian blue and white in the World Cup. So maybe that just shows how different it is when you're playing for an Argentina side who believe they can win. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later, but in the meantime, you're listening to the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. More World Cup fascinating conversation coming up next.
I wasn't overly enamoured with what we were doing anyway. I've spoken freely on this marvellous channel that we're on, and, you know, on talkSPORT regularly, and said, look, it's not as good as what everyone was making out, I didn't think, you know, and that's nothing against the manager, Thomas Tuchel, nothing at all. It's just that I didn't think, you know, I wasn't thinking we were blowing teams away and we were purring, but we were finding a way, and that's equally fair to say. That's a brilliant thing to have, of course, if you're not playing brilliantly, but you're winning games. Now, that's a great habit. We all know that. So I don't think I was too... I try and give balance to my comments about these things, and I didn't think we were magnificent anyway. There was a lot of talk about this feel, and how the feel was better. I wasn't having that bit. I was going, oh, come on, do me a favour. And I've spoken freely on, I think it was with Simon and Jim about, you know, Gareth's time, and they were sort of suggesting I was supporting him because I'm his mate and all that. I wasn't. I was just calling it how I think it was. I don't think there was radical change. I had a big debate with Simon about it on their show and said, look, I don't think there is radical change. Simon was saying there is, and he's a master tactician and that's fine, by the way. I've got no problem with people's comments because we're here now talking about it. But I did say on that show, I did say to Simon, I said, Simon, there's nothing radically changed here. You know, if you cut through the noise and you go, in balance to that side of it, which I have been intrigued with, is I do think this is the best opportunity we've had, certainly in my lifetime, I think it's the best opportunity we've ever had to win the World Cup. Not because we're amazing, but because the other superpowers are not as superpowered as what they were. France were flying. I think we're all shocked by that one because they were the ones who you thought, right, okay, they're what we think they should be, apart from their last game. And equally, you know, you look at them and they are superpowered. And yet, you look at their last game and you go, what just happened there? So it is the World Cup. It's not easy to win a World Cup. Everyone sort of suggests it is, but it's not.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
Good morning, this is the World Cup Weekend Breakfast live on YouTube and on your smart TV here on talkSPORT. I'm Will Gavin, and Looking at the back post, ready to stick it to Tommy T, is Tony Cascarino. Later on the show, we'll be taking your calls. 03717 223344 is the number to call to have your say on England. Have you forgiven Thomas Tuchel? Are you going to watch? What I want to hear from people is, are you going to watch the third place playoff? Are you going to engage in it? Does it matter to you? Do you want to see a new manager in charge as well? Lines are open. 03717 223344. Let's get a quick one with Jill, the Man United fan. Jill, morning.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, morning, Will. Morning, Tony. How are you doing this morning?
Wonderful, wonderful. What do you want to say?
Oh, I'm still fed up, to be quite honest.
You and me both. You and me both.
I'm still really disappointed. I think listening to Tony and listening to a lot of the ex-footballers and everything, I just think it was the wrong tactics. You know, the substitutions. When Gordon came off, I was shouting at the TV saying pace, pace. And he didn't do that. He didn't bring Rashford on. He didn't bring Saka on. I couldn't understand not chasing it when we won 1-0 up. I couldn't understand that. And I think what's wound up the fans, well, wound up me, definitely, is the comments, the way he's doubled down on it, the way he said it's not me, it's not my fault, it's them. And the way he said it's an English DNA mentality problem. That really got my goat, that did. And I just thought, is he really international, or is he more club manager? And for me, I want Eddie Howe in. I wanted Eddie Howe in before. I want Eddie Howe in now.
Wasn't even given an interview, Jill. Wasn't even given an interview at the time. That's mad.
Well, what Jill's saying there is when he accuses the team of being far too passive, and yet that's exactly what he was as a manager.
Yeah.
He was totally passive.
Completely passive. And we haven't really talked about this, but his comments back when he was appointed, when he looked back at Gareth Southgate's performance in the Euros final, and he said the team looked essentially scared to go and win it. That the team looked like they were more concerned about not losing than they were concerned about going and winning a tournament. You've done exactly the same thing, Thomas. You've literally done exactly the same thing you accused Gareth Southgate of. And as much as, you know, Gareth Southgate had his knock, and I was somebody who felt he stayed on from maybe a tournament too long, maybe even 2 tournaments too long after repairing the behind-the-scenes stuff. Just not good enough. Just not good enough, right. Fascinating story this morning. The Liberal Democrats are calling on UEFA and the FA to completely walk away from FIFA, declaring the sport's global governing body corrupt beyond repair. The demand follows an unprecedented World Cup scandal where FIFA overturned that match suspension of Fowler and Balogun, direct lobbying coming from Donald Trump, alongside fury over the predatory ticket pricing, exceeding as much as £24,000 face value for the World Cup final. Ed Davey has argued it's time to blow the final whistle on FIFA's corporate greed to build a clean organisation that puts fans first. Well, joining us now to discuss this is Liberal Democrat Education, Children and Family spokesperson Munira Wilson. Munira, very good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Munira, I read the story last night when it was sent through to me, and this is kind of something that you guys are pushing for.
Yeah.
How realistic do you think this is as an idea?
Look, what we're calling for is for a conversation to be started, because I think many fans, not just here in England, but around the world, and many commentators agree that FIFA is beyond the pale. We know that corruption's rife. We've seen that really come to the fore in this World Cup, with the, as you've already said, with the overturning of the red card, massive price gouging that's priced real fans out of the game, and those ridiculous hydration breaks for commercial purposes. So we're really just calling on the FA to work with UEFA, who've also been pretty critical of some of what's been going on, to think about working with confederations around the world to withdraw from FIFA and try and found a body that actually puts fans and football and the football federations back at the heart of the game, because, you know, FIFA, as I say, it's just beyond the pale, and it's all about who's got the deepest pockets and the most powerful political leaders being able to decide, frankly, and influence what happens on the pitch. That can't be right.
When I say this, Munira, I mean this with the utmost respect. The Liberal Democrats right now have the most MPs they've ever had. Yeah. Most share as well. Like, other than obviously when you form the coalition with the Conservatives, the most power in theory in this government that you've ever had. My concern is that you talk about UEFA walking away, but right now, actually, Gianni Infantino, because of the expanded World Cup, because of the idea of putting the Club World Cup to 2 years, he has the backing of CAF. He has the backing of CONMEBOL. He has the backing of the AFC. The smaller nations like what he's doing because he's bringing them more money, more opportunities. And so it feels like a little bit of kind of biting off your own nose despite your face, when actually, surely, as a Liberal Democrat, you understand that being inside the machine, you're more likely to affect change than removing yourself from it entirely.
Look, undoubtedly, there are some good things from the expanded World Cup. I mean, again, there are mixed views about that. I think some of the smaller nations suffer from not having a share of voice. Okay, they may have been able to participate in the World Cup, but ultimately, do we think some of those smaller nations, if they had a red card, could pick up the phone to Infantino and have that red card overturned? We know that, frankly, the reports around how Qatar was awarded the World Cup in 2022 were pretty damning. Does that put other nations at a disadvantage? I think it does. We're just saying, let's start a conversation, because the home nations and Gibraltar, we make up about a tenth of UEFA already. We know UEFA's got real concerns. They haven't endorsed Infantino for another term. They were also critical of the red card being overturned. And so we're saying, let's start a conversation about setting up a body that has an international fan charter underpinning it, that focuses on things like ticket pricing and making sure that the game is fair and transparently run, to have a body that is run in the interests of both fans and federations.
You mentioned their ticket pricing, and look, supply and demand is the big reason why everything is so high. And you can't just go down the road, this is on football, because, you know, if you want to go and see concerts, you pay over the top, you pay extortionate amounts of money. You can argue that the Masters and in golf and many other competitions are exactly that, overpriced. People pay through the nose. I don't quite know why government would want to be involved in trying to regulate it to a degree where supply and demand always takes over. I can go back to the 1994 FA Cup final. Different ideas then. Tickets were going 6 times the value. Going back, plus 30 years. That was it then.
Of course, there's an element of supply and demand, but 22 grand for a ticket, which is what was being reported at times. I mean, I happened to meet someone the other day who has got very, very deep pockets, who's got tickets for the finals. But I think a lot of genuine fans are being cut out of it, and it is often corporate interests that are able to cough up the big bucks to be there to see these amazing matches. Like, who is the game being run for? And look, we're not talking about political interference here. We're saying about using the England and the UK's soft power and UEFA soft power to try and bring about a change. Of course, politics is separate from football, but I'm just stating the obvious. We're millions of fans and commentators like you are talking about how there are so many problems with how FIFA is run. Why shouldn't we be having a discussion about how we can change it, even if we couldn't set up a totally new body? By actually having this discussion, we can maybe think about working with bodies around the world to bring about change and maybe stop Infantino being re-elected.
That for me is the interesting point here, Munira. As much as like, it's a great headline. It's a great thing to say if UEFA remove themselves from FIFA, and that's I totally understand what you're saying with that. And listen, we're not sat here as fans of Gianni Infantino or FIFA at all. We're not fans of the corruption. We're not fans of Trump getting.
We're not fans of ticket.
We're not fans of the ticket prices. No. We're not fans of real fans not being the ones that get in front of the football. We're not fans of any of that stuff. But from my perspective, if UEFA try and put forward another candidate, and they're talking about it being, various people have been put forward. I think Sefrin said that he doesn't want to do it, and a number of kind of club owners from around Europe, etc., have been put forward as possible ideas. For me, if UEFA want Infantino out and they want change at the top, it's actually more about working with those other federations and finding somebody, whether it is somebody, these are all inside football people, so you could always argue that it's never going to change if you just get another person who's already chummy with Infantino. But whether it's Patrice Motsepe, the head of CAF, or whether it's Victor Montagliani, the head of CONCACAF, somebody who is not Infantino, who's one of those organisations where they will have their support, That, for me, is where you might find a change. I think if UEFA put another candidate up, or if UEFA just pushed for Infantino to come out without working with those other confederations, I think Infantino walks back into another term. I just think that nothing changes.
And that's why in our broader call around having withdrawing and setting up a new body, we are saying it's UEFA need to work with other confederations. And I think you're essentially suggesting the same principle around, if FIFA stays as it is and who's leading it. But, it's not... I think changing the figurehead is key, but then you need wider cultural change, because clearly this has been going on for some time, albeit under Infantino's leadership. But leaders affect culture, and that culture will be rife throughout the organisation. But certainly changing who's leading it would be a very, very good start. And I would urge UEFA to come forward with an alternative candidate. They've refused to endorse him.
Listen, the Liberal Democrat Education, Children and Family spokesman, Munira Wilson, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a fascinating point of conversation. I think I found that kind of UEFA leave FIFA thing a little bit too grabby for me, but it does bring up some interesting points. And I think after this World Cup, there'll be a lot of talk about structural change in football. This is the World Cup weekend sports breakfast on talkSPORT. We can have some fun as well. Don't worry. 03717 22 3344. You'll hear lots more from Tony Cascarino. We're going to have a lot more fun over the next 2 hours as we continue to look forward to the third place playoff, to the World Cup final, and the Open getting underway in an hour's time live on talkSPORT 2.
It's 25 minutes. You're playing against Argentina. And you've just gone, here. There you go. Go on, just attack us. Attack v defence.
Do you know what, Jay? I can't believe I'm having this conversation about Tuchel. I cannot believe I'm having this conversation.
Sack him.
It's just rinse and repeat as England. And I don't know whether he looked back on that Mexico game and got drawn into how comfortable he felt. No, Jay, I'm not giving you an answer. I'm trying to find a reason. I'm trying to get into his head. I don't know the answer, Jay. Any more than you. Don't, Jay. I'm trying to find a reason.
But why put Bellingham on the left?
Jay, I don't know.
Why not bring Rashford on?
I don't know.
Why not bring Saka on?
I don't know.
What was he thinking?
I don't know.
What's he thinking?
I'm trying to get into Tuchel's head, because the lads were dead on their feet. And if you're going to go to 5 at the back, which I kind of understand in one way, I do. But what you need to do is help help the back 5, because if they can't get out, you literally are on the edge of your box, and you can't defend all the time like that. You need pressure on the ball. You need players to get out, and also you need an out ball. We had no out ball. Nothing. But I can't believe you said
that's coaching 101. That's literally coaching. We are sat there, 2 donuts, all right, in the Redwood. 2 people that sit on here, all right? We ain't coaches. We know football. He's the top level England manager, and the whole nation can see that we were camped in, and everyone's screaming, "Make a sub, give us an out."
I don't get it, Jay. I don't get it. I just.
We've seen some incredible goalkeepers grace the world stage. Banks, Zoff, Buffon, Neuer. So why is Lev Yashin from the Soviet Union considered the greatest of them all? Say Yashin to a teenager these days and they'll probably look like this. After all, he played decades ago for a country that doesn't exist anymore. He never even played in a World Cup final, yet he still, more often than not, comes out on the top of ranking lists. In 1958, the Soviet Union lost 2-0 to Brazil in the group stage, but without a 28-year-old Yashin who'd stopped a rampant Pelé from scoring, the scoreline would have been embarrassing. He was key again in a draw against England, which helped the Soviets into the knockouts. They would eventually lose to the host Sweden, but many considered Yashin to be the reason they got as far as they did. He was revered at home, and his club form was out of this world. In the 4 seasons between 58 and 62, he hit a 1-in-2 clean sheet ratio almost every season. That is insane. By comparison, in the 4 years to 1966, Gordon Banks was closer to 1-in-4. All of that made his dramatic flop in 62 that much more shocking. He conceded 4 in a group game to Colombia, including the only World Cup goal ever conceded directly from a corner. They were knocked out by Chile, and so shocked was Chile's winning goal scorer, Eladio Rojas, that he hugged Yashin in celebration. Back home, Yashin was blamed for everything. He was the scapegoat. After bricks through his window and messages left on his car, he considered packing it in. But he kept going. And in 66, the return to form of the man they called the Black Spider was lauded. After his team finished 4th, Yashin was given the Order of Lenin, the Soviet Union's highest civilian honour. All of that is why today, the best keeper in the world gets the Yashin Award. That's right. These modern-day greats stand on the shoulders of that Soviet giant.
Good morning. We've missed the big man, haven't we? Big Ginge here instead. Will Gavin here for the World Cup weekend sports breakfast. A man who represented his country at a World Cup nonetheless, the wonderful Tony Cascarino alongside me.
Good morning.
Morning, brother. Right, the World Cup final that never was. England wrapped their tournament against France in the third place playoff. But I don't know if you've heard John Stones this morning. I don't think anyone wants to play in, even though he says, it's a good chance for us to, finish higher than we finished in 66. So, I hear the tone in your voice, sir. I know how you really feel. But Thomas Tuchel has doubled down on his second half performance that triggered the exit to Argentina.
If you're asking if I regret my decision, if this is the question, then say no, I don't regret my decisions. I felt that we become too passive. I felt that we the momentum switches in the match.
And we aren't the only nation in mourning. We face France today, and Emmanuel Petit says that the mood is similar en français.
Emotionally, it was really sad, when I get back home, by bicycle, I crossed the whole street and I saw so many disappointing supporters. They were so sad.
So, don't forget England v France tonight at 10 p.m. Sam Elard, your host, and then tomorrow the World Cup final live from 8. You can get in touch with the show. 03717 22 is the number to call. 81089 on the text. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Tony Cascarino, my main aim for this next hour is that we stay vaguely on time because I'm in so much trouble. This is my first Weekend Sports Breakfast show where it wasn't because I've stayed on after extra time because somebody didn't turn up for the show, which we have done before.
I've played a bit of a part as well, Will. You've got me going. You've got me going.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you've got going because I knew you hadn't had a chance to get on air and have your say, and I'm glad that we've got your say on this situation. But
Can I ask you a question? You know when's it? Oh, I'll keep doing this. Right?
Yeah.
You know when you hear there Thomas Tuchel say he has no regrets.
Yeah.
Now, how can you have no regrets?
Seething with anger. Seething with anger.
How? I mean, I've never liked that phrase anyway. That you should never have any regrets. There's things in life that happen that you do regret. You're very regretful for. Yeah. Okay. And for him to say no, nothing.
It's worth hearing his whole conversation with Faye, and maybe we'll hear a bit of it a little bit later in the show from today, where essentially he says that he saw we were struggling on the pitch. He saw we were dropping too deep, and he reacted, and he would have had regrets if he hadn't reacted. But his reaction was to do 5 at the back and bring 6 defenders on. That was his reaction. His reaction wasn't, oh, we could really do with an outlet here. We could really do with pressing up the field. We could really do with putting them under pressure. Should we get opinions of some of the fans, though? You and I have had our say.
Yes.
Let's go to Ashley. He's a Wigan fan. Ashley, how are you doing?
Hi, Ashley.
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for taking my call. I remember watching Tony growing up as a kid, leading the line for Marseille and a few other clubs. So I've got a ton of respect for him. Great player, underrated in my opinion.
Go on, tell us how you feel 3 days later.
Yeah, so I've been reflecting on it. I hold my UEFA B licence. I did my coaching back in the early mid-2000s. So I've been watching this from sort of that standpoint and watching what's been being said. And I can tell you sort of firsthand the problem that we have in this country, and I think it's actually a bit of a national scandal. It needs to be looked at in more depth. Is the FA charge an extortionate amount of money for the young coaches who aspire to sort of get to a decent level. It's double and triple the amount what the people on the continent are paying. And I myself, back in the day when I did my UEFA B licence, I actually went over to Ireland because it was half price to do the same course. And the FA has done great work with the elite player performance plan, which has developed technical players that we were lacking. And the irony of that is that we've left the technical players at home and we took functional players. Germany reformed their coaching, and the irony of this is that Thomas Tuchel came through that German coaching reform, and it's something that I think we really need to have a good long hard look at ourselves with.
Yeah, agree. Absolutely, Ashley, absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And actually, it raises 2 interesting points. That firstly is the coaching side of things, which isn't good enough. When you consider how much development has gone into St George's Park, the investment in the money, the fact that we've not got high quality coaches is a problem. But also, Cass, this idea that it's not in the footballing DNA that we could hold on to the ball and retain it. All while Thomas Tuchel has picked a squad that's designed around physicality and designed around athleticism, not designed around technical ability. That's your choice, Thomas. You decided to go for those kind of players, and yet in the big moment, you didn't go, let's lean on our physicality and our athleticism.
Well, you only have to look at the other 3 semi-finalists. But technique is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very important for France. It's very important for Argentina. It's very important for Spain. That you have to be able to do some sort of things in football, that are a super high level. And Ashley's absolutely right on the costs of, coaching badges or going through the system is so extortionate in the UK that others do go to. I mean, without getting too long-winded on this, when you finish football in France, they have a scheme that you can get paid by the unemployment. It doesn't matter how much you've earned. You're on a platform, it's called, that you go, so it takes you down the road of getting your coaching badges and establish yourself in football. And by the way, it's much tougher in France, the coaching. I know it's changed in the UK and got more firmer, but in France, it was way, way harder. The coaching levels to go through. Way harder.
There you go. So FA, again, need to take some responsibility for this situation. Let's go to Andy, the Plymouth fan. Andy, morning.
Good morning. How are we, guys?
Hi, Andy.
Yeah,
right, so...
Still angry. Not going to lie, Andy, still angry. How are you doing?
You shouldn't be angry. At the end of the day, we got it... Our country is so finicky, everything was okay once we beat Mexico, and then everything's all 20 leagues under the sea. So the manager made a mistake, and I don't have an issue with that. Where the FA have gone wrong is given this a series of mistakes. We all got our own opinions about things. Firstly, I think he should have played a 4-5-1 the moment we scored a goal. Taking Kane off, I'd have put Saka on, and I'd have put Rashford on. Just say, guys, so if the ball goes up the other end, you run for it. And I think that would have given us a completely different result. Anyway, let's come back to Tuchel. The FA have made a mistake in giving a man a contract past the World Cup. You know, they should have said, you've got a contract to the World Cup. If we win it, then we'll consider the Euros.
100%. 100%.
Yeah?
Great, Andy, great call. And that's, the FA, I think, panicked when they heard Man United were sniffing around Thomas Tuchel in February, and they panicked ahead of the Euros in 2 years' time, and they didn't have another plan, and they threw 2 more years at it.
Well, even if you had said, we'll see how the World Cup goes, it doesn't have to necessarily mean win it, okay? Even if you saw a lot of improvement in England, that you'd go, by the end of the tournament, that manager's got something.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that makes a massive difference. It's not about just winning the World Cup. It's the only reason he gets a new contract.
Yeah, 100. I completely agree. And actually, not just if winning the World Cup. If I'd come out of Wednesday going, look, that was tough, but I really feel good about the Euros in 2 years' time.
Yes, exactly.
Then I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point. If England fans were to come out and look, and it's not a case, I don't like flip-flopping, Will, of going, England are terrible, England are great, England, I don't. I try and give a pragmatic view of what I see. And there were so many problems. I think all coaches at all different levels, midweek, whether you're in charge of kids football, whether you're in charge of semi-professional, there would be so many that have gone, that is absolutely ludicrous, some of the stuff that was made by the head of the nation in coaching.
All valid, very, very valid points from Tony Cascarino. Some great calls as well. Let's get to Kenny. He's a Hearts and Man United fan. Kenny, very good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Hi, Kenny.
Apologise, I mean, listen, it's a great show. I do agree with probably 99% of what you're saying. What I would say...
I've got to tell you, Kenny, that's
never got 99%.
I'm not sure anyone's ever agreed with 99% of what either I or Cass have said, so I'm taking it as a win.
But as a Scotsman, I maybe shouldn't be throwing my hat in the ring, but what I would say, slightly, I do agree. I think Tuchel, he's talking there about, the team went too passive. He's the manager. But what I would say, if you watched England right from the first game, the players, the vast percentage, I think Harry Kane plays in Germany, obviously, but most of them play in the Premier League. And on a daily, I just heard an advert on the radio earlier saying Aston Villa are playing in some cup competition in 21 days' time.
Carabao Cup, 22 days' time from today.
Yeah, and you think that's part of the problem. The players in this country are absolutely running to the ground under the club system, and the Premiership is a superb. The Premier League is a superb product, but when it comes to that, the players hardly get a break. They're right into a camp. I'm not giving the temperature down because everyone, it's German, French, Spanish players, they all have to deal with the heat as well. It's not that much of a temperature change.
Kenny, let me give you a stat, and let me give a stat to my friend alongside me here that I saw earlier in this tournament. Morgan Rogers played as many minutes combined as Dembele and Doué played over this season for Paris Saint-Germain. As many minutes combined for Aston Villa. He played something like 6,500 minutes, and they played something like 3,200 minutes each. So you're talking about one player for Aston Villa, and you saw it with Rice, and you saw it with Saka. And look, I'm much like Adrian Durham wasn't blaming Arsenal fans as much as Arsenal fans wanted to come for him. There is definitely a problem with too many games, too much stress on the body, and I don't want to sit here and blame distances.
Well, Saliba got injured
blames
as well,
flights
didn't he?
and blames everything else, but there is undoubtedly an issue where English players play too much football.
Well, Saliba had carried an injury. You could clearly see it for France, and he's ended up looking like he could miss 3 or 4 months of the season.
Horrible. And they might have to turn to Konsa, apparently.
Played a lot of football, played nearly every game for Arsenal.
Esri Konsa, by the way, and Morgan Rogers, little double steal for Arsenal for Aston Villa. What a huge move that would be. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. I want to talk Jared Bowen as well. There's so much. I've got Tony Cascarino alongside me. There's loads for us to get into. Kenny, that was a great call. Thank you so much for getting in touch, and you can do the same. 0371722 3344 is the number to call if you want to get in touch and have your say. Don't forget, the latest episode of How to Win the World Cup is now live. Matt Ford, alongside 98 World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit and comedian Alex Brooker, to reflect on England's heartbreaking loss to Argentina in the World Cup semi-finals. Available now wherever you get your podcast and on the talkSPORT World Cup YouTube channel. We're going to look forward to the day's action in the Open coming up. We've got Neil Warnock joining the show as well, all coming up on the World Cup weekend sports breakfast.
We've been talking all morning about Thomas Tuchel. We've been talking all week about him and the fact that he's questioned England's DNA, whatever that may be. He said, I think ball possession plays a crucial role. It's maybe not in our DNA as it is in the Spanish or Brazilian or Argentinian DNA. To take the ball and control the game and the ball, which is a big problem. What do you make of that, Ben?
Watching the Spain game the other night against France, that's how you keep the ball. And I think it comes down to bravery. We've got the players to do it, we've got the ability to do it, but it comes down to bravery. And I think once them England players put that shirt on, when it comes to the crunch moments, that's the bit that is lacking a little bit. We've definitely got the ability to do it. We've got the players to be able to do it. You watch Spain, and when they went 2-0 up, even when they were 1-0 up, they just kept doing it. You've got Fabian Ruiz and Rodri in the central midfield. At one point, they're playing two-touch over the French midfield. They're keeping the ball nice and calm. And I'm
they
just thinking...
They had a good structure as well, though.
Really good structure, but they're drilled on it. And there's a lot of people saying, well, why can't we be drilled on it?
You've got to want the ball as well.
You've got to want it, but it's bravery, isn't it?
It is.
And bravery comes in a load of different forms.
So
People think bravery might be a Dan Burn getting his head, and it is a form of bravery, but when it comes to the crunch moments, it's that calmness under pressure in the big calm moments where you've got to go, right, just woof, woof. And I think Argentina a bit, look at Messi, see how calm he is, and I think that filters through the team as well.
Yeah, he can carry you out of trouble, Messi, can't he? Give him the ball, he carries it up the pitch, he takes the pressure on.
Yeah.
That's what we were lacking as well, just an individual who just could carry it up.
Oh, it'd be lovely if we had one of them. One or two of them at home, I think.
I think it's a bit unfair because he took Gordon off, and I think Gordon's grown into the tournament, I thought, because he had a lot going on at the beginning, which I spoke of, because with the move and all that sort of stuff, a lot to handle, if you like. But I think he's grown into it.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
If people wonder what we discussed during the breaks, we've just discussing and waxing lyrical about the career of mid-90s Ireland and Reading striker Jimmy Quinn. That's the kind of stuff we're getting into at this time on a...
Do you know what?
on a Saturday morning.
Jimmy Quinn was one of the most underrated strikers. Really good striker in front. He could shoot from distance. He had a lot about him. He led the line brilliantly, scored great goals with his in the air. Jimmy was a real handful. I'm sure there's fans all around the country who would have seen Jimmy play.
Listen to Game Day Breakfast live on talkSPORT. Game Day Breakfast? Is that what we are now? World Cup weekend breakfast. I'm like Ron Burgundy. Just stick it in front of me and I'll say it. On talkSPORT, also live on YouTube and your smart TV. I'm Will Gavin. Bromley's finest son, striker Tony Cascarino, is alongside me. I did make a slight mistake earlier. I said Villa are playing in the Carabao Cup in 22 days. It's West Ham. I got the wrong claret and blue team. West Ham are playing in the Carabao Cup. Villa are playing in the Super Cup 4 days later against Paris Saint-Germain. That's a mental thing to think about, isn't it? Aston Villa, Paris Saint-Germain is the first
great game.
It's the first time we're going to see an English Premier League team in action. Joe Shannon and the former Aston Villa captain Andy Townsend will be in charge of that one. Let's check on the latest odds right now, though, with Coral.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here to reward the fans this summer. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
So Dave Stevens is in the house. Dave, early look at the World Cup final coming up. But first, is there much action on the third place playoff? Do people get involved in this on a betting perspective? Maybe a way to make it a bit more interesting?
Good morning, Will. Morning, Cass. Look, I've been trying my best this morning to get up for this third and fourth playoff final, but I don't care. I know I should. As an England fan and also as a bookmaker, I should be saying, yeah, this is a game we've got to have a betting because it's so exciting. It's the most pointless game in football, Cass. Am I wrong?
I'm sure people could think of games that are more pointless, Dave. But it's a World Cup. And look, I just know that them players would be wanting to get back home, you know.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the sentiment of, you know, listening to John Stones, is trying to say, look, there's a game and it's for a purpose and the highest finish ever for England. But generally, I bet they're, just get us on the plane and get us out of here.
Yeah, I mean, the highest finish ever would be obviously to win it. But I know what John Stones was trying to say. Look, France are favourites. I don't suppose anyone's surprised by that. To win in 90 minutes, 8-11. England 11-4. The draw just under 3-1. I suppose, look, let's try and be positive. Well, try and be positive. But why does the game matter? Do we think Mbappe will play? Is it currently 8-all, him and Messi, in the goal scoring charts?
Currently 8 apiece. Messi edges it because he's got more assists. That's what's happening right now.
Isn't he? So, I think he's got an issue with his ankle. That's what I'm hearing reports on.
Mbappe. So you don't think Mbappe
I don't actually know, but I know there's been an issue with his ankle.
Because, I mean, look, he's odds on to score at any time. I say, one, maybe 2 goals might be needed for him to win it. How much does he want to win that? Harry Kane has obviously been great for England largely. He's favourite to open the scoring if you think an England player can do it. But I don't. It's just one I can't get too excited about because the disappointment is still there, unfortunately, from Wednesday night. And obviously the winners on Wednesday night were Argentina. We'll have a good look at this final tomorrow because actually this could, 4 years ago we saw, for me, the greatest World Cup final ever. Tomorrow night could deliver something special. Let's hope it does. But Spain, 5-4 favourites, 5-2 Argentina, 2-1 the draw. And that feels right. But as I say, we'll cover that one in greater depth tomorrow morning.
Early look forward to the World Cup final. Obviously, do a bit more detail tomorrow. But Spain favourites?
Yeah, sorry. As I say, 5-4 favourites, Spain, and worthy favourites.
Did he? Yeah.
It's your first time on this show. First time, we'll let you off.
Dave, I'll tell you what's happened there. A caller has got in touch with us and told us they agreed with 99% of what we said, and that has really that's really bolstered the confidence a little too much. The ego has landed. My wife has just texted me and said, if it helps, I agree with about 80% of what you said. I'm not going to lie, that's double what I would 50. Expect. 100% I'd take 50. 80%? Madness. The odds on that.
What about, come on, let's move on. Let's go, because we've got golf.
There's loads of great sport.
There's golf and there's racing. So what about the golf? Because a lot changed with DeChambeau and the decision 2-shot penalty last night. I'm sure that alters prices.
Totally, Cass. He was 5-1 favourite when he finished that round. His odds have now doubled as a result of that 2-shot penalty. He's got to use it as motivation to be fired up. He can't throw his toys out of his pram and storm off. But the Americans dominate. Scotty Scheffler, the reigning champ, 6-1 favourite. Cam Young, 7-1. Lucas Herbert, 10-1 along with Bryson. And then it's Tommy Fleetwood, of course, the local lad, 12-1 to put a smile back on our faces. Who'd have thought it? The rugby union schedulers have had a right result here. Argentina, England later tonight. England are odds on to win a bit of national pride back against Argentina. 2 points start for Argentina. Yeah, well, that's all later tonight to come. And it's a big day of racing as well, as you mentioned there, Cass. At Newbury, the Weatherby Super Sprint is now feature off at 3:37. The wonderfully named Roll the Dice Baby, I hope can go well for Richard Hannon and Sean Levy. There's jumping at Market Raisin, where it's Summer Plate Day. Dan and Harry Skelton are flying. They team up with the favourite in the feature there, Kingston Narcissus. The real top-class action is over in Ireland at the Curragh, where it's Irish Oaks Day. And the Epsom Oaks winner, Thundering On, leads the field Her closest market rival is William Haggis. He sends an earth shot over from Newmarket, the Royal Ascot winner. We haven't even talked about the Belgian Grand Prix that Kimi Antonelli is favourite to get pole for. So there's loads and loads of great sport to look forward to, Will. We don't even have to worry about England-France until tonight.
I promise I do listen to you. Thanks, Simon. I'm kidding. The wonderful Dave Stevens with us. That's a look at the latest odds with Coral 18+. BeGambleAware.org. Please gamble responsibly.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here to reward the fans this summer. 18+, gambleaware.org.
The Weekend Sports Breakfast, the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast. Last weekend, we're going to be able to say that. Then we're on to the regular season. We're on to the transfers. Everything else coming up here on talkSPORT. We'll get the latest ahead of the Open up next.
He has to go, mate. I'm sorry, Jeff. Like, when we are paying £8 million for a foreign coach to come in and win us our first trophy since 1966, and that's what he does in a semi-final for an Argentinian side that were there for the taking, and to do what he did, 10 times worse than anything Southgate's ever done negatively. I'm sorry, he has to go, mate. Simple as that. The FA have to make a decision, and I just didn't like his interview, the arrogance of his interview, no regrets. Yes, you have got regrets, mate. You've got regrets. There was loads of trouble after the game across the country. Everyone was together. And that's on you, Thomas Tuchel. That's on you. The negativity, cowardly tactics. You can't blame the players. I'm hearing people say, Jeff, that, the players on the pitch have got to make decisions. There's some experience. No, you listen to your coach. Your coach tells you to play a certain formation. You listen to him.
Yeah.
He has to go. Simple as that. No foreign coach ever won the World Cup. Maybe for a reason. We've given it a go now again with a foreign coach, and that's what he's done.
I mean, Alan here has just tested the same sort of thing you were saying. So Tuchel's shortcomings have been exposed. What about the players' shortcomings? Well, look, the players, we've got 6 defenders on. We've got 4 central defenders on at the end for the cross that Messi puts into Laura Martinez. So, yes, I get that. But ultimately, the can has to be carried by the coach, especially with the negativity. I mean, look, everybody said this, but the negative. Anthony Gordon is flying. We scored a brilliant goal. Brilliant goal. You'll have loved, the fact that Kane, Declan Rice, who's soon to come off as well, Morgan Rogers, and a lovely finish to Anthony Gordon. And Gordon's feeling 10 feet tall, so what do? Oh, we'll take him off.
Morning. This is the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast. I'm Will Gavin. Former Marseille and Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino is alongside me, just discussing how Tony doesn't drink coffee anymore, despite the fact that he lived in France.
I'm trying to drink less coffee.
Right, okay.
Not-
you're not
I'm
giving
not-
up entirely. How can you do a weekend breakfast show and give up coffee? It's astonishing.
No, I'm just finding I'm drinking coffee all the time, and I've got to stop.
Blimey. Okay. Well, I'm going to get a coffee in you before the end of the show because I need it. The energy has been high for 2.5 hours. It's only going to keep on rolling. We'll talk Bryson DeChambeau coming up. We'll talk about this day's play at the Open. But first, some of your headlines this morning. Wayne Rooney thinks the FA should stick with Thomas Tuchel as England head coach unless a move for Pep Guardiola is possible. Leeds United have signed defender Tariq Muharemovic for £34.1 million from Serie A side Sassuolo. And former Palace boss Oliver Glasner spoke for the first time as the new Nottingham Forest manager. You know who's normally alongside you in the seat here while Shaban's been away? And by the way, Shaban, we love you dearly. We're glad you're listening. You know what Max Scott did to relax the other day after he'd come in and done a reporting shift after being angry about England going out of the World Cup?
Go on.
He went home, he sat on the sofa, and he watched all 33 minutes of Oliver Glasner's press conference in full, and that's how he got his kicks after his shift at talkSPORT. I love that man so dearly. It's wonderful. Let's hear from Oliver Glasner talking about his long-term vision for the club.
Quite difficult. So I think we will challenge each other with ambition. But again, it's for me the difference is being ambitious. Every Premier League club is ambitious. Every Premier League owner is ambitious. Every Premier League manager is ambitious. Every Premier League player is ambitious. Yeah. So that doesn't automatically mean that you win silverware, because then every team would win silverware, but it's just not possible. Yeah. Mathematically not possible. And so it doesn't make sense after 3 days talking about silverware. It's now really getting consistency into this club and starting to build the foundation to succeed. That's important.
Oliver Glasner, I still find it a really interesting move, Palace to Forest. He talks about winning silverware. You did that last year with Palace. Do you have to hit the ground running a little bit to justify what looks like a sideways move to most?
Well, it's a club that the owner demands success, and even if you survive relegation when you've been in trouble, like Pereira found out, you can be gone from the football club. So if he started the season really poorly, you never know. I mean, at Crystal Palace, he had a big say. They stayed with him. He'd said some, things that some people at Palace wouldn't have liked. In the end, it's worked out that he's got a club move to a club that is very chaotic, to say the least.
Yeah, but the fans do back Marinakis.
No, it's a fabulous football club. There's no doubt. But that chaotic behaviour, will it be the first time ever that Marinakis, if it goes against the manager, he'd stand by him? I don't know, because you never know what's going to happen at Nottingham Forest.
Well, Premier League, FA Cup and Carabao Cup action is all just around the corner. The first domestic commentary of the season will be in August as Middlesbrough take on Wrexham in the Carabao Cup first round, live on talkSPORT, just 3 weeks away. We're just pretending the World Cup doesn't exist at this point. The Open, let's chat some golf. It's live over on talkSPORT 2 in 20 minutes' time. First combatants out there teeing off at 9:10. The great Sean O'Brien is now with us live from Royal Birkdale. Sean, has all the talk been about Bryson DeChambeau? Is that where everyone is focused overnight?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, absolutely it has. This has become the big story of the Open Championship. And let's just recap what actually happened. So he finished round 2, 1 shot back of Lucas Herbert. Bryson was on 7 under, Lucas Herbert on 8 under, so right in the tournament. But they took him back to the 5th hole where he drove it way right, put his tee shot in the long grass. And now Bryson steps behind the line of his golf ball to get a better look at his shot. And as a result, the long grass gets flattened. Now, the R&A have decided that improved the conditions of his backswing and assessed him a 2-stroke penalty. Now, what happened afterwards was just complete cinema, guys. His agent starts telling the media that Bryson might not play tomorrow. He drives back to the 5th hole with the rules officials. He can be seen on live television remonstrating with them. The whole process takes around 90 minutes. It's literally getting dark. Everyone wants to go home. But the R&A stood their ground, and Bryson did eventually take to Instagram last night and confirmed he will play, with a very sarcastic post of him kind of like posting images of him floating above the grass. But he's very much still in this. I mean, he's only 3 shots back. But yeah, to answer your question, he is the story of the Open Championship.
And Tony and I feel very differently about this, just so you know, Sean. I think it's absolutely...
Well, go on, but first of all, then, tell us how you stand on it, Sean. Tell us what you think, if it's right or the wrong decision.
I think it's the right decision, but I think it's very, very harsh. It's clearly accidental. It's clearly part of his routine. And I can kind of see his point of view that, OK, how am I meant to get to the ball? And I suppose the answer would be if you just stepped into your stance, you wouldn't affect the backswing. And by the letter of the law, by stepping behind the ball, he has made the intended area of his backswing more favourable to come out sideways. And I think the RNA looking at that, once they've seen that, I think they find it very difficult to ignore. The experts, the likes of Paul McGinley and Brandel Chambly speaking about it on television, they seem to agree with it. They seem to think that this is absolutely the right decision. I think it's because it's Bryson and all the context around him. I think you could easily see how he would spin this into a little bit of an agenda that's building against him. But I think ultimately the right decision. He's unlucky. It's harsh, but probably the right decision.
Okay.
I've got to say, I don't care. I don't care if it's Ludwig Aberg. I don't care if it's Victor Perez. I don't care if it's Sam Burns. The moment you wade into the long grass, from a junior, you know what the rules are. And it's not so much that he got the 2-shot deduction, it's that he threw an absolute hissy fit about it. It's that he threw his toys out of the pram and he went full Bryson DeChambeau about it. That's the thing that annoyed me. And I'm like, just get on with it. Just get on with it.
Look, I wanted to touch on as well, because obviously DeChambeau, that decision's been made. There's 2 62s yesterday, Sam Burns and Lucas Herbert. Could have been in another world, it could have been a completely different story, because Herbert had an opportunity of a 61 that he misses a short putt on. So it's a really good leaderboard. I'm looking at it this morning, I'm thinking this is exciting stuff now coming into the Open, the removals day.
Yeah, it's interesting story, Lucas Herbert, because the world number 97 has just gone and equaled the lowest round in major history, the lowest round at any Open Championship, and it almost ended with a tinge of disappointment because, that was a really makeable putt for the 61, which would have been the outright all-time major championship record. But yeah, Lucas Herbert is your unlikely leader by 2 shots on 8 under par, and I think what makes this really interesting, when you look at Lucas Herbert at 8 under, Jackson Suber at 6 under, Ryan Gerard at 6 under, these guys haven't been there before. You've got Cameron Young also at 6 under, and we've mentioned Bryson at 5 under. A lot of the guys at the top of this leaderboard, these are kind of heights that they haven't really hit before, and it'll be really interesting to see how they manage the situation with the likes of Scotty Scheffler's at 4 under, Tommy Fleetwood's at 4 under, John Rahm's at 4 under, then going further back, Shane Lowry and Ludwig Aberg at 3 under, and you might even, if we're playing how far back is too far back, Rory McIlroy's at 1 under, and that might not be out of this tournament just yet, given the context of who is at the top. So it really does set up for an incredible moving day. I think pretty much every big name on this leaderboard will consider themselves in this championship if they can go really low today.
I enjoy that Sean corrected you and called it moving day.
I know, I'm laughing.
Removals day. I'm reliably informed.
It's better though, is it?
I was like, is that a phrase I just haven't come across before? Is this a me thing?
No, I'm reliably informed that if it hadn't worked out at Gillingham for Tony Cascarino, removals is the career he would have gone into. So that's why it's on the mind for him. Listen, just finally from you, Sean, you mentioned a few of the names there. Tommy Fleetwood, obviously the hometown hero, the guy that everyone's excited to see if he can go and do it. But once we get past all those stars and stripes in the top 5, who are the Brits we're watching today?
So you've got Matt Wallace, who's at 4 under par. He's 4 shots back. And then Alex Fitzpatrick, 4 shots back at 4 under par. Yeah. Not the Fitzpatrick that you would expect to be 4 under par, because Matt Fitzpatrick, who was probably my tip for the championship, he missed the cut quite dramatically.
Good shout from you, Sean. Well done, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll be kind of like getting my P60 in the morning. But Robert McIntyre from Scotland, he's 4 under as well. And then, of course, Tommy Fleetwood, he's the big story, isn't he? He's at 4 under, so plenty of Brits to keep the home crowd interested.
Yeah, you can't even get the one right, Sean, in the same family. You know,
Yeah.
that's my removals
I had a
day.
50 chance.
Don't worry. If your P45 comes in the post, I know someone with a moving van who can give you some work, so don't worry about it. Sean O'Brien, brilliant stuff. The coverage of the Open Championship, live commentary from Royal Birkdale, gets underway from 9 a.m. this morning over on talkSPORT 2. First tee is at 9:10, and obviously with that field as tight as it is up the top, you're going to see big names teeing off all the way through the morning.
Yeah, great stuff today.
Very,
Really
very
good
exciting.
stuff.
There's nothing better than if you can't go, and I've been lucky enough. I actually was at the last Open at Royal Birkdale when Rory McIlroy won it, and it was one of the best couple of days out I've had. But if you're not lucky enough to be there, there's something about settling in for a full day of golf on the telly and just easing your way through the day. It's a real joy. Oh, of course, listening on talkSPORT 2 on the radio. It's got to be a company man about it.
Just put your headphones on and listen.
Oh, yeah.
Just walk round.
Just mowing the garden, making yourself some lunch, listening to the soothing sounds of Rupert Bell et al. Scott Taylor in action today on talkSPORT 2. It's going to be a joy. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. I didn't hear what you said in my ear, Gab, so I'm just going to throw it to the break. You're listening to the Weekend Sports Breakfast. Well, what did you say? Repeat it to me. Yeah, oh, you did say break. All right, there we go. Because you're listening to the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Next up, we'll look at some of the best bits from across the station this past week.
I wonder whether he went back, muscle memory, whether he's gone back to what happened against Mexico, where we dealt with five at the back and they threw things at. But this ain't Mexico.
There's 20 minutes left.
It's
20 minutes of normal time, Jace.
It's more than that.
And we had a man sent off against Mexico. You could almost accept it.
I know.
You're playing against Argentina.
Yeah.
You can't sit off for 25 minutes against Argentina. He absolutely bottled it. Thomas Tuchel's cost us the World Cup. He cost us the World Cup. We're 1-0 up. Played well first half. All right, cagey affair. We go 1-0 up. Be brave. Be brave, Thomas. This is what we brought you in for. We brought you in for this moment. We got rid of Southgate because he bottled it, because he weren't brave. We brought you in for now to make that decision. We're 1-0 up in a World Cup semi-final. Bring on Rashford. Bring on Saka. And if they score, they score. But at least we're going to go down fighting. At least we're going to go down with some pride. We fell out of the World Cup in disgrace because of him. Because of him. And we brought him in for this job. This is what we brought him in for, to get us over this line. And it's the same old England, same old crap, same old guff that I have to watch every tournament that we're in. And it's the manager's tucked us up again. Tucked us up. We're dead on our feet. Got Morgan Rogers playing right wing, Jude Bellingham on the left. Brings on Nico O'Reilly. We can't get out. Harry Kane's done nothing. He's dead. Nothing. Got nothing left.
I don't.
I can't believe it, Jace.
Well, no.
Jace, I can't believe it.
No,
It's a disgrace.
He
should be sacked. Get him out. Gone.
I totally agree. I can't believe that we've moved on from Southgate, and it was.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Glad I saw the mic go live before I finished that sentence I was finishing there. Some very personal information about to get leaked out on the airwaves. You are listening to the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast with me, Will Gavin, and a man who played multiple World Cups. The wonderful Tony Cascarino.
2.
Well, that's multiple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more than 1.
It's exactly. I was giving you props, Tony. Don't shut me down for it. By the way, a massive run on DAZN Saturday fight nights are incoming. Starting tonight, Harlem Eubank taking on David Papo, live from the Copper Box Arena in London. Wins that fight. Nailed on to get a World Championship fight, I reckon. Then next week, it's danger before destiny as Anthony Joshua makes his comeback against Christian Prenga, an Albanian knockout machine with an incredible record of 20 knockouts from 20 wins. So join DAZN Ultimate and get access to 185 plus fight nights, 12 plus pay-per-view events every year, including Anthony Joshua against Prenga on July 25th, all included at no extra costs.
Boxing updates on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
The Open gets underway on talkSPORT 2 in just under 10 minutes' time. First tee in just under 20 minutes' time. But right now, it's time for a bit of this. Didn't realise I was still on camera when I started dancing like that. I hope no one's watching on YouTube. Yes, this is Show Me talkSPORT, where we look at what's been happening across this great network. Mostly, it's going to be about England, let's be honest. Most of England have already decided who they're supporting in the World Cup final. But the Breakfast Show were weighing up the pros and cons.
Next one is Benidorm is better than Buenos Aires.
Oh, God.
I'm not quite sure on that one.
Yeah. Look, we're really scraping the barrel here. And then finally, which I think is the most compelling one, tapas. Now, Sean, we know that you love your curry. Are you partial to some tapas
I
as
am.
well?
I
yeah.
like
What do you like?
stuff,
Do you like your food? Yeah. What kind of tapas do you like? What's your tapas order if one can have a tapas
You know, I
order?
love pork belly. Pork belly when it's really crispy. And,
Yeah.
Oh.
So you're playing the tapas card for Spain.
Correct.
Okay, I will raise you with steak for Argentina.
I will raise you. Sangria is better than Malbec.
Rubbish.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I was just about to sit here and go, Laura Kirk-Francis in that seat, 2 to my left. Sean Dyche where Tony Cascarino is. Me here. The Gingers are taking over talkSPORT. We're coming for you. But, Tony, you having it? Which way you going? Spain, Argentina? What, in your heart of hearts, who are you rooting for?
Well, I want Argentina to win because of Lionel Messi. And I think Spain will win. So
Okay.
I think they'll beat Argentina because they have conducted themselves really well in the tournament, Spain. There's an elegance of the way they play. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy Argentina literally mixing it like they can because they're always a tough side.
Masters of the dark arts, baby.
But there is a line in the sand a bit with Argentina. And at the end of the game, they get the player who comes running on and goes running across Nico Riley. And it's like, what? You know, why would you do that?
What is wrong with
Sam,
you?
that sort of thing, Bob.
I absolutely back Jude Bellingham giving him a slap in the back of the head.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love that Jude Bellingham came out afterwards and backed himself as well. Listen, Breakfast will be back on Monday with Jeff and Gabby with all the fallout from the World Cup final. By the way, Argentina win, I'm going to say, well, that's what I wanted because we lost to the champions. But emotionally, I want Spain to batter them. Absolutely hand it to them. B2A, as our American friends would say. The boys have also been discussing whether Messi is still one of the best players in the world today. Jamie O'Hara is sick of Rory Jennings at this point.
Today, I'm not saying about Lionel Messi's legacy. His legacy is unrivaled. It's untouched.
He's the top scorer in the World Cup, Rory.
Yeah, he's banging them in against Switzerland and whoever else.
Oh, mate, please, come on.
Just trust
Don't
me.
talk guff.
Just trust me on this.
No, I don't trust you as far as I
Today-
can throw you, and you're only small. I could probably throw you quite far.
Look to me off
Right?
the 17th
Honestly,
floor.
mate, like, don't talk guff. Bellingham's an unbelievable player.
Do you think Lionel Messi's a better player than Harry Kane today? Today, I'm not talking about legacy. I'm not talking about the player that Lionel Messi was for 5-10 years ago. 15
Messi
years
is a better player than Harry Kane.
Nah.
It's Lionel Messi.
You're insane.
It's Lionel Messi.
You think Lionel Messi would be starting for Bayern Munich? I'm not saying that.
I wanna
if you want
eat
to
the mic.
talk
I wanna
about
eat the mic.
Lionel Messi.
Lionel Messi would 100% be starting for Bayern Munich right now. What is Rory on about? By the way, those two together live
whose place is he taking?
from 6 p.m. today in the England squad.
No, in the Bayern Munich team.
I think you play him.
Elise in front of Elise?
I think no, you don't play him in front of Elise. You don't play him off the right. You either play him in the 10 or you play him at
so the Musiala.
You drop Musiala deeper or you play him in front of Diaz. Diaz is sensational. I was at Union Berlin this year and saw him score one of the goals of the season, but it's Lionel Messi.
Yeah, I'm not. Look, he is unbelievable. And to do what he's doing at 39, we all have to hold up our hands. You could never have imagined he'd have been that brilliant leading up to this tournament.
Well, listen, Jamie and Rory, it's gangbuster stuff, and it's back today from 6 p.m. today. And if you aren't looking forward to the football, maybe you're looking forward to the halftime show. Rory Jennings and Max Scott, it's fair to say, aren't convinced.
So who's playing? Who's playing Jack? Madonna,
Shakira, Justin Bieber.
Madonna. Look, everyone likes Material Girl. That's a banger,
Sesame
right?
Street characters are going to be there.
Material Girl is a banger, so you can have that. I reckon Shakira you can kind of make your peace with because of that banger World Cup.
Stick her on the halfway line with a microphone.
Yeah,
we don't care about Super Bowls.
Yeah.
We don't, as it, the halftime show and all that. That's great for the Super Bowl. That's part of the spectacle that is the Super Bowl, which is massively growing in this country, and we can embrace that. But don't bring it into
nobody, not one football fan, likes Justin Bieber. In the Venn diagram of football fans and Justin Bieber fans, there is no grey area. Not one football fan in the history of football fans has ever liked one
Bieber's
Justin
got a good album,
I don't even know what Justin Bieber's. I literally, I don't think I'd recognise Justin. I've got a tube here. Justin Bieber could have been sitting opposite me on that tube. I wouldn't have had a clue. Would you?
Look, Rory Jennings has a baby face and looks like he's about 12 years old. He's actually in his 40s. That's why he doesn't like Justin Bieber. The Gen Zs on the other side of the glass are all telling us they love Justin Bieber. I know that our producer for the England games, Will Varney, went to see Justin Bieber live. The young people in this office love Justin Bieber. Would you recognise him if you saw him on the tube?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry?
God. Big Shakira guy, though, right?
Yeah, lucky enough to be standing about 2 yards away from Shakira when she was with Gerard Piqué and we're in Las Vegas, and Teddy Sheringham knew him from Manchester United times, yeah? And he goes up and talks to him, and I'm with Ted and go over a chat, and Shakira was there, and I'm not looking at Gerard Piqué, I'm looking at Shakira. She's stunning.
What's better, being 2 feet away from Shakira or 2 feet away from Will Gavin?
Not even close, Will.
I'm not going to ask which way you mean. I'm just going to assume. Just a reminder, you get a chance to win. Do you want a chance to win 26 grand in free cash? Do you? Because we're giving away the big bucks. Fund your summer and enter right now. Head to talksportwin.com to enter and for T's and C's. That was Show Me TalkSport. The wonderful Tony Cascarino, the wonderful Shakira, and Rory Jennings just getting buried left, right, and centre. We've got more England chat on the way. The great Neil Warnock's joining the show. We're going to chat transfers, and we'll look ahead to tonight's third place playoff game here on the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast on TalkSport.
Now, we get the inevitable fallout after a World Cup, and there are reports that one or two of the England players were very surprised that we went ultra defensive in that closing stage of the game. And we were saying earlier on to Stan Collymore that there's a lot of making up to be done by Thomas Tuchel. A lot of people now would have lost trust and belief maybe in his methods, and that would include fans, it would include media, and he's going to have a very prickly time with the media, I guess, over the next 2 years, and maybe some of the players as well, Adrian.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's it's a big moment in his England career. Everything had been okay and judgment had been on hold, but judgment was always going to come with what happened at this World Cup, because he was brought in to win the World Cup. And there's no shame in losing to the reigning champions, Argentina, who've still got a player like Messi, who is the best we'll ever see in our lifetime. But it's the manner in which you lose that game, and that manner was not acceptable. Since then, he's come out and basically said, oh, it's the player's fault, not mine. that's how it could be interpreted. And I think that's not going to go down very well. Certainly doesn't go down well with me, because he's been in the job long enough.
We all know it. That moment when France were reduced to 10 men in the 2006 final. But Zinedine Zidane's World Cup story was so much more than those antics in Berlin. Despite a meteoric rise to prominence in the early 90s, Zidane wouldn't really start his World Cup career until 1998. See, France didn't even qualify for 94, so they had some making up to do on home soil. Ahead of the tournament, Zidane was flying. Back-to-back Serie A titles and Champions League finals with Juventus, but things didn't exactly go to plan. In France's second group game, he was shown one of these. I mean, we were so busy getting angry at Bex for his red, we didn't even realise Zidane was getting properly dug out in France for the 12 days before. The French public demanded he be kicked out of the squad and sent home, but manager Aimé Jacquet held firm and brought him back 2 games later. After his return, he'd start every game until the final, where he was quite simply brilliant. He scored not once, but twice, and this was the moment he'd been waiting for. There was national jubilation, and all was forgiven. He was even rewarded with a Ballon d'Or to cap off a near-perfect year. France won the Euros 2 years later, and so were red-hot favourites at the 2002 World Cup. But the table will tell you things did not go to plan. Now, come 2006, France, now captained by Zidane, are one of the favourites again, but they made hard work of it. They won just 1 game and finished second in their group, which meant they had to beat Spain, Brazil and Portugal en route to the final. Then, the moment we all remember. Zinedine, just leave it. Walk away. Zinedine, no! And that meant he became only the second player in history to be sent off twice in World Cups. France lost, but he still won the Golden Ball. As you can see, he was thrilled. Or furious. Zidane never played again, but across 3 tournaments his story had everything. Disgrace, glory, infamy. We don't like our heroes clean anyway, do we?
All right, good morning. This is Weekend World Cup breakfast. I'm Will Gavin. Will Hips Don't Lie, Gavin. And alongside me, the former Chelsea striker, Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
He's still claiming that being near me is as good as being near Shakira. I refuse to believe him, but there we go. The World Cup final that never was, as England wrap up their tournament against France in the third place playoff. The worst game in football. Thomas Tuchel doubled down on the controversial second-half substitutions that triggered their exit to Argentina.
If you're asking if I regret my decision, if this is the question, then say no, I don't regret my decisions. I felt that we become too passive. I felt that we the momentum switches in the match, and I tried to help my team.
The England boss speaking overnight. You've also got tournament favourite France in action tonight. They were beaten by European champion Spain, and 98 World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit told us that much like England, they are a nation in mourning.
Emotionally, it was really sad. When I get back home, by bicycle, I crossed the whole street and I saw so many disappointing supporters. They were so sad.
Emmanuel Petit is a wonderful man. I had a chance to meet him the other day. I shook his hand. He smelt fantastic. But the idea of him cycling home from a bar after the game, he's got to be wearing blue and white stripes.
With onions around his neck.
Yeah, onions around his neck, baguette in the back pocket. It's the most French thing I've ever heard.
Do you know, I've never met Emmanuel.
Have you not?
No, I've never met him. Obviously, I know players he played with that I played with, like Barthez and others. So...
Did you ever kiss
He always
his head?
comes across, he feels so honest in everything he says, doesn't he? And listening to it, I was on my velo, as they say, on my bike, and everybody looks so sad. Do you drive? Do you drive? Do you ride a bike and you look at people thinking if they're sad or happy? Do you?
Yeah, maybe. If you're Emmanuel Petit, if you have
looking at the road.
If you have that French je ne sais quoi about you, then certainly you do. Yeah. I'm going to ask again, did you ever kiss Fabien Barthez's head?
No. Not at all.
I think you must get sick of people still doing that to this day.
Very, very funny man, Fabien.
Oh, really?
Very funny.
Love
well,
that.
he ended up dating, didn't he? One of the most beautiful women in the world.
Shakira?
No. Was it Helena Christensen? Was it one of them? I think he dated her.
Wow.
Yeah. Fabien.
Well done, Fabien. World Cup winner. Famous bald man.
I've told some funny stories on him, by the way, on talkSPORT.
Oh, so not some of the off-air stories.
No,
I've
told him on air about him as a person and some of the antics he got up to before games.
I love they've just given up on us playing the final clip and just faded the bit out underneath it. Leave us alone. We're having fun.
Anyway, we got into
third place playoff.
I digress.
Is live on talkSPORT tonight, 10 p.m. Sam Allard will be with you from 9 o'clock with all the build-up. And the World Cup final tomorrow, of course, live from 8 p.m. It's a great lineup of shows today. The warm-up coming up after us after 10 o'clock. You've got live golf action right now over on talkSPORT 2. And the first tee is in about 2 minutes of moving day. Yes, moving day, not removals day, Cass. You can get in touch with the show. 03717223344 is the number to call. You can text us 81089 here on the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast. Let's get into some of the latest transfer news now, because as England fans in mourning, you want to turn back to your club. You want to turn back to who you might be bringing in. It's hope season. It's time to look forward to the new season as we get closer and closer to the new year. 120 Premier League commentaries on talkSPORT this year. But let's start off with a move that's not happening. Jared Bowen has ruled out leaving West Ham, ruled out a move to Liverpool. Tottenham was sniffing around, apparently Villa as well, with Morgan Rogers possibly on the out. He's committed his future to West Ham despite their relegation from the Premier League. He's chosen to stay with the Championship club in the Championship in his first time since 2012. A renegotiated contract for this season. The contract still runs till 2030, but this year, to reflect the Championship, he has renegotiated his price. He didn't have a contract clause to reduce his wages initially, but he has taken a pay cut to stay with them for this season to try and get them back to the Premier League.
Yeah, well, if you was to say one player that might do that, you'd have gone Bowen, no?
West Ham fans all believed it. I have to say, I have to hold my hands up. I looked at it and I said, 29 years old, Liverpool sniffing around, chance of Champions League football, chance of winning some silverware, maybe the last chance when you're 29 years old. I really thought Bowen might move on this summer. I don't think anyone at the club could have blamed him. But fair play to him, he sticks around.
Yeah, and look, his father-in-law's a West Ham fan. He's
really... Who's that?
I think he's got that mentality of what I would say an Alvin Martin, a Billy Bonds, some great legends of West Ham that over the years they've had, that they're very honourable and they see that club in that way. You can go back to the Bobby Moores of this world and others. There's lots of them along the way that have wore their heart on their sleeve being a West Ham player. And if you'd have said to me one player that would, against all the odds on whatever was thrown at him financially, that he could go, no, I'm staying here. I went down with this team. I want to come back up with this team.
Let's hear from the West Ham captain on his reasons for making this decision.
The main motivation for me is staying and bringing this club back into the Premier League where we belong. There was always going to be rumours, there's always going to be different things going on, what's going on, and I think for me it was only right to speak when the time's right in circumstances like this. So ultimately it hurt everyone, and it should hurt everyone because it was such a disappointing thing that happened, but you can't change it, it doesn't last forever. I flew out to Prague in Czech Republic to meet Daniel, Yuri, go out and speak, and the ambition that I got from Daniel and Yuri, certainly in terms of the direction the club that wants to move in, interests me a lot. You know, it didn't take a lot for me because this club means a lot to me. And as I said done an interview after the game and said my vision is to get this club back in the Premier League.
I genuinely think it's honourable that that's the decision he's made. And listen, from a monetary perspective, last year in the Championship, there were 6 players who were earning more than 50 grand a week. 5 of them were on that Leicester team who got relegated and didn't have clauses in their contracts because Leicester never expected to get relegated, similar to West Ham. And 1 was a player who was on loan from Tottenham. So to be earning 150 grand a week like he was down in the Championship would have been just an insane jump up. So maybe he had to take the pay cut. Maybe West Ham couldn't have kept him if they didn't with the situation with the money. But to take the pay cut, to stick with the club, to try and return them to the Premier League is all very honourable. If they don't go back up this year and he does leave next season, has he missed his opportunity to maybe go to a top-tier team?
No, not at 31. If he's 31 this time next year, that's still a young enough age to go and play somewhere 2 or 3 years. Decent. He's a really good... I like him because I just think he's very consistent. You can rely on Gerard Bowen a lot. And look, it was a difficult season. And you never know what's in the contract. He might have everything he's cut back on this year. If they get promoted, it's all in within a bonus, an incentive to keep him at the club, and they'll pay him this amount of money if they get promoted back to the Premier League. I'm sure there's some things in there that certainly it's not a hard deal for him to sign.
Supposedly, the rumours are that if they get promoted this season, he will earn the pay cut he's taken back in a bonus.
Yeah, and I would imagine there would be some sort of agreement along the way, and the club can't have it both ways, can they?
No.
You know, you've got an asset there, you value a lot of money, you demand a decent fee for him. He's on decent money, so yeah. But if he stays at the club and you get promoted, no West Ham fans are going to complain. The club would be delighted, they're back in the Premier League, and he would be delighted now he's in Premier League again. He might even say, I want to stay again at this football club. Mark Noble was another one I didn't mention. Mark Noble was that type of player for West Ham. Very, very loyal to the football club.
From a Bowen perspective, I tried to avoid talking about the squad selection choices with Thomas Tuchel when we've analysed Wednesday, right? I've tried to avoid doing that. He didn't take this player, didn't take that player, because I think there's been enough to focus on with the decisions he made on the day without having to delve into that. But when you see the performances of Noni Madueke and the health of Bukayo Saka, there is no doubt to me that Jarrod Bowen could have had a positive impact on this England squad if he'd gone to this World Cup.
Yeah.
If he gets West Ham promoted and they have they survive in the Premier League next season, or if he doesn't get them promoted and he moves teams next year, is he a player you could see featuring in the Euros, a home Euros in 2 years' time? Because I think that's got to come into his thinking as well, surely.
Well, if Thomas Tuchel's the manager, and look, he's taking a big risk going down to the Championship of losing his international place, or whether he gets called upon, because some managers will not look at the Championship and pick players, especially at 30 years old. So it's a tough one. I mean, people might say, well, look, Jordan Henderson, he went away, he went to Ajax, he played in Saudi Arabia for a short time. There are different scenarios. But I do think that there would have been, he certainly was one of them you could easily put, just on attitude alone and what he delivers and the type of player he is, you could always make an argument you could take a player like Jarrod Bowen.
Let's just talk about West Ham as a whole, because they move on from Matis Fernandes. They get big money from Tottenham for him, right? Yep. That's probably why they can afford to keep Jarrod Bowen. The rumours were they had to sell about £120 million worth of player to make this financially viable. When they make the Jarrod Bowen announcement this week, they also put out an Instagram post saying they've sold 50,000 season tickets.
Yeah.
And just colloquially speaking to West Ham fans I know in and around here, whilst they still hate the move away from Upton Park, while they're not, a lot of them aren't fans of the London Stadium, the fact that Sullivan's not there anymore, the fact that obviously God passed away, the fact that actually the club is going to be in new ownership, there is kind of a renewed sense of love and loyalty to this club. And that actually getting relegated from the Premier League, if they get promoted, and it's a big if, but if they get promoted back up to the Premier League this year, and it's only a 1 year sojourn away, this reset could have actually been a good thing for the club.
Well, I would argue that what other club who can get 60,000 fans into the stadium week in, week out as an home game, have not had any sort of success in any I'm talking in the Premier League. I'm not talking about the European trophy. I'm talking about in the Premier League, being in the Champions League. They get 60,000 watch them. Arsenal get that. Tottenham get that. Chelsea don't get that because their stadium doesn't hold 60,000. But, them three clubs have all had a lot of success over the decades, where West Ham have got a huge following that have not seen any success as in even positions in the league to get to European football. Look at other clubs around. You know, Villa have got European success. Newcastle have got into Europe Champions League. You know, why have West Ham fallen so short so often?
I'm never a believer in this idea of any club deserves to be in the Premier League. Any club should be there. You've got Forest over the years, Villa when they were in the Championship, Newcastle when they dropped down. Like, people talked about they're too big a club, they should be in the Premier League. No team should be anywhere. They are where they are based on the results, and they are where they deserve to be based on the results. But West Ham, with their brilliant old fan base, with their history and everything else, back in the Premier League next season, I think will only be a positive. And Jared Bowen staying there, I think, is a big, big step towards that. So good news for West Ham fans today and over the last few days. 50,000 season tickets is amazing. We're going to get more England chat coming up. And I'm delighted to say the brilliant Neil Warnock joins us on the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast up next here on talkSPORT.
Up until 72 minutes, we were going to get into the World Cup. Oh, we weren't crap.
The goal,
right?
the
We
goal
weren't- we
was
weren't
a
crap.
wonderful ball from Morgan Rogers.
Yeah.
But I'm asking you to put your playing hat on now.
Yeah.
You're Argentina. Is that a good goal, or has they switched up at the back post?
That's a bad goal. You switched off. The right back, or was it the right back? Doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't even react.
Why does that need to criticise a bad goal for England? It was a great goal. We went 1-0 up. It's a great cross.
It was a
Good.
great
Why
cross.
can't you
Decent
argue that Gordon lost his man to score the goal?
Because the geezer doesn't even see him.
Well,
It doesn't go
there
like.
must be a reason for that.
He doesn't run and go boom boom. He just runs and the guy's like, oh my man.
Troy, you can't criticise a goal that we
I'm
scored.
not criticising it. I'm saying we didn't play well. We had 5 shots in the whole game.
Yeah.
They had 5 on target. Remember, they don't call the 2 that hit the post on target.
Yeah, but
so
man
they had
for
the same
man-
amount of shots.
But man for man, they're better than us. But
No, they're not.
Oh, well, they are.
No, they're not.
Not man for man, they're not.
Man for man, they're better than us.
Well, last night they were.
Yeah, but still, I think maybe you maybe at a stretch, maybe 3 of their players maybe gets into the England.
Exactly. And they're not man for man better than us. What they can do better,
Yeah.
and well, this is why I thought Messi's greatness yesterday really showed.
Yeah.
Because you know when they were 1-0 down, there was 40 minutes left, he went, give me the ball. He lost it a few times, give it me again. He hit crosses over, give it me again. Don't worry, just keep giving it me because I know I'm going to do it. Everyone in their team went, there's 2 lines. You can either be, I'm going to be the person who doesn't make a mistake, I'm going to be the person who wins the game. Everyone in their team and their bench went, we're going to win the game, I'm going to be the man.
Yeah.
Our team went, don't be the one to make the mistake. And we played with fear. Now, that doesn't always come from the manager, that comes from the players within. One person I do want to give a shout, because I've been very harsh on him with this whole thing. Jed Spence was top draw.
Yeah, he was.
Was top draw. So I give credit where it's due. But we've got top players, apparently. Where were they?
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is how to win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Weekend World Cup Breakfast Live on talkSPORT with me, Will Gavin, the great Tony Cascarino, a man who played in 2 World Cups alongside me. To the kind of midweek misery for the Three Lions as we have. There is still one more game at this World Cup between 2 huge nations for a supposed bronze medal. However people feel about that game. John Stones spoke with talkSPORT overnight about this and told Faker others what the feeling in the squad is like ahead of the third place.
You feel the weight of what's happened, and rightly so. I think because of the belief that I felt the belief that we could do it. But that's the cruelty of the position that we're in, and we have to own that. And tomorrow we can't control that there's a third, fourth playoffs, and we've got a great opportunity to finish the highest I have, or we can finish the highest since '66. But while I've been in an England shirt as well, so what a great opportunity.
Words and tone, very, very different from John Stones there. It's time to take a look ahead on High Pressure Picks with Shaw.
High Pressure Picks on talkSPORT with Shaw. Non-stop protection deodorant that won't ever let you down.
Well, looking ahead to tonight's game, it's the former Premier League and EFL manager, the wonderful Neil Warnock, is in the house. Neil, how are you, sir?
Hi, Neil.
Yeah, very good, lads. Good morning. Yeah, very good.
Good. Neil, I wanted to ask you first because I've never been in management or coaching, and I watched this week and I looked, and I've never seen a game that's gone so wrong by decisions that Thomas Tuchel made. And I feel like I have to be careful because I've never done what you've done, Neil, as a manager. But I got the feeling afterwards that it's just everybody's got an opinion in football. We all know that I just never thought I'd see something so wrong in such a short period of time on the football pitch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been in the game, a manager 40-odd years, and I don't think I have ever seen the mistakes that he made the other night. I think if he'd have come out, I know it's hard for a manager, but I think if he'd have come out and said, on reflection, I did get it wrong. Because the players were trying. They're trying hard, but they didn't know what they were doing. And I looked at it, and I just could not. I know it sounds silly, but I thought the same when Gareth got to the end, to the semi-finals. I always thought that there weren't anybody on his staff strong enough to comment on what he was going to do. And I think the same here. I don't think he's got anybody that, I'm not saying they're all yes men, but to say, do you realise what you're doing? Because this isn't Mexico, this isn't Norway. These have got good players here. But as much as you say that, Cass, the goals are Sunday League. The goals have come from a corner kick where Jed Spencer's halfway out. There's nobody with him. There's 2 out there. There's a man at the edge of the box. I mean, the set-piece coach, they've got hundreds of staff nowadays everywhere, and I think they've got staff just to fill the backs up. So I think the set-piece coach should be able to say, whoever's going on, you're out with Jed. If he goes out for a short corner, you go with him. Then there's a midfield player inside the box. Don't have to be stood with Martinez, but inside the box, that if they take the short corner, he comes out to Martinez. It's so basic. It's almost like I was watching it and I just couldn't believe it. Second goal. And I'm thinking, Nico's come on. Jed's got a bit of a knock, but he's behind Nico. They're both behind him. Messi is a great player. We all know that. But he hasn't got direct speed, so they let him go down the line. They shouldn't. I mean, my famous saying about you've got to die to get 3 points. You've got to die to stop the cross. And that is like Sunday League, not just at the top level. And they should have, that cross should not have come in. And for me, they're elementary things. And when he comes out with, I mean, I don't think they might as well leave him in the job now because he knows, he knows the squad. But when he comes out with, I'd have just kept my mouth shut, I think, there. When you start talking about DNA and all that lot, it's just bad coaching. Whether it's him or his staff. But we looked like a bunch of amateurs for 20 minutes because there were no outlet, there were nowhere when we got a ball we could look to play. We got no. I mean, how Gordon must have thought when he scores a goal and then he's replaced, and we have got nobody wide. And I think our strength has been our wide players taking a bit of pressure to allow Bellingham to get that through the middle bit there. So, to take them all off and end up, I ain't got a clue how we ended up. I can't tell you how we ended up because I don't think anybody knows.
We ended up with Dan Burn playing up front and Ezri Konsa, a centre-back, crossing the ball into him. That's how the game ended up. It's fascinating, Neil, when you talk about the short corners. They had 3 or 4 before the one where they scored the goal from. Yeah. You'd already had a bunch of sighters from Enzo Fernandez prior to that. I think he'd had 2 shots from distance already, so you knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They'd been cutting down to the byline. That's where they clearly had targeted that part of the game after the deep crosses of Mexico and Norway hadn't worked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the coaching has to come into it, but do the players also have to take some responsibility for not adjusting? Where does that come down?
They do, but, I mean, players, I'm not saying they're like sheep, but they follow everything rigidly, what they talk about and all these. I mean, for me, when you looked at that from they showed you a picture from afar when it was on the left wing and Messi stood on his own on the right wing. And there's no need for Jed to go in there. He could stay out. But you need telling at times. Jed goes in right because he thinks he's helping out. But he's the danger out there. So why not just man mark him? I mean, my team's always did that, man marking. But at this level, the other night, I just thought, surely you can see Messi, who's the best player in the world. He's on his own, and you can put somebody on him. I don't think it was so much the players' fault. I just don't think there was direction from the sideline.
And what do you make of this 3rd versus 4th place playoff? And Neil, we listened to John Stones there, and you get the sentiment or the feeling of, well, they want to just get it over and done with and get back.
Well, would you want to turn out again after the other night? I mean, as a player, I just want to get home, mate. I mean, I don't. I mean, France are the same. France, they got pelted in their country for how they performed, and I just think, nobody will want it. I can't see it being a great game to watch. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I mean, I won't. If I'm with the grandkids, I don't think I'll be. If they want to play a game, I'll probably play a game of cards with them. I've got no interest at all in a 3rd and 4th. Have you, Tony?
Honestly,
you can't talk, Tony. You're Irish.
Neil, I'm doing the show again tomorrow morning.
We got to watch.
So I've kind of got to watch it, but it's at 10 p.m. So what, do I only sleep for 3 hours and come and do the show? I would tell you, it'll be the first 3rd place playoff I've ever watched. That's for sure. If I do end up watching it, I'm kind of 50-50 on it right now. What about, Neil? You talk about the players wanting to go home, etc. I think there's a really interesting situation in this game with Kobbie Mainoo. You've not been given a single minute of football. Jordan Henderson's been given a cameo in front of you. If you're now picked to start this game, a game where you could get injured going into the domestic season, having not been given a second of football prior to this, it feels almost lose-lose. It's like
It'll be interesting. Yeah, it will be interesting to see if he picks Mainoo. I mean, he was the type of lad that you needed in that sort of last 25 minutes because he's got the legs, he can hold it up, he can run with the ball. So I just think it'll be interesting to see what he does because he's commented about his training not being very good. The manager, I mean, things like that. You don't say that to the press. You tell the player. You put an arm around the player and say, "Look, you're not training so good, son. Can you, lift your percentage up and things?" But to come out and say he's not been training very well, it's like justifies why he's not played him or.
And it can be unfair, Neil, can't it? It might not be true.
Correct. I think it's totally unfair. Things like that should be kept inside the camp. That it should be one-on-one with the player. And if he played him, I mean, what will he do? Will he play him now and then he have a fantastic game and make Tuchel look stupid? Or does he just not bother playing him in case he has a good game? I don't think he'll play him, but listen, he should do now. He should give everybody a game, shouldn't he, in this game?
I think the thing is, we've all agreed, I think, that this game is a nonsense, right? I think we all feel that way. They might as well let them do a full rotation of subs like it's a friendly. Like, take away the 5 subs rule. It's that level of nonsense. But if England put out a strong team and then get absolutely shellacked today, Neil, Does that put a little extra pressure on Thomas, despite it being a game we don't care about?
Not really. I don't think anybody bothers. I don't think anybody in England's bothered about the result tonight. I don't think so. Performance or anything. It's just a damp squid for me. I just, can't wait to, how I don't know how the players, like you said about earlier, you said about Mainu, didn't you? About will he want to play and get injured? Because you might not be right up here when you go on the field. And Tony will tell you, if you're not right on the field, you're more likely to get injured. You pull out a tackle or you do something silly, and then you jeopardise yourself for the Premier League. So it'll be interesting, his team selection tonight, and also when you talk about Manu and what have you. Hey, I have to bring it up, lads. It's 20 years payback now with West Ham, and it's taken me 20 years to be able to smile, to be able to breathe in the fresh air and look forward to the next season.
Yeah.
So 20 flaming years. I've got to say, though, Jared, I love Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, he must realise, he must think himself, Tony, I don't think I've got much chance of getting back in the England squad now. I love West Ham. I'm going to... How many players... I think it's fabulous that because he's a manager's dream. Jared is an absolute manager's dream. Take him on, and he does it for fun. I love to watch him, and all credit to him for sticking with him. And I mean, they will come back up, won't they? But I mean, 60,000 in the champ. They'll still get 60,000, Tony, won't they, in the championship?
Yeah, I'm working. I've got to be careful. I'm working on Millwall West Ham in September. I'm looking for.
Just get to the stadium nice and early, Tony. Get to the stadium nice and early.
I'm getting there the night before.
I'd have to put a crash helmet on if I went in that game. I must tell you, we played Millwall last time. I forget where I was, the Middlesbrough, I think. And the kit man come to me just before the on the Friday. He said, "Gaffer, I've got bad news." I said, "What's that, guy?" He said, "We haven't got any. We can't use the first two strips." Oh no, it's Huddersfield. We can't use the first two strips. So I said, "Well, what we doing then? What we playing in?" He says, "We've got to play in pink." I said, "Pink at Millwall? Are you joking? I get so much stick at Millwall, and I've got to go out, and you're playing in pink." He said, "Yeah, sorry, Gaffer." But we won 1-0.
Oh, right.
We won 1-0, and Wardy scored, so it was a good day.
You still were getting it, though.
Happy day. Hey, it'll be a great game, though, Cass, won't it? Millwall, West Ham. Yeah. I like Millwall, me. I've always got on well with the owners there and everything. It'll be a cracking match.
Neil, we've got to let you go, but just before you do, we've been talking about the Bryson DeChambeau thing today. We thought you might be out on the course today. Cass has admitted that he maybe occasionally has a little cheat when he's out on the golf course. Have we ever seen Neil Warnock maybe pocket a ball or maybe, underreport some shots?
Don't forget, I don't know whether you've ever seen William, my son, but he puts bits on, because he's a golf pro. He puts bits on when I play him, because I only play the par threes, and he gives me a shot. And he still can't beat me at times, because I tee off the fairways or I go off the ladies' tee. And if I have a bad one, I have another one. I only have two. I'm allowed two. I have my own rules, you see. And so I understand where Chambar's coming from, but I wouldn't have bothered with it. I would have just picked the ball up and put it on the fairway.
Yeah,
if that had been me.
There's always a mulligan for Neil Warnock. That's what we're saying. Wonderful stuff, Mr. Warnock. Thank you so much for joining us. The brilliant Neil Warnock, talking England. We'll take some of your calls on that 03717 22 3344. Plus, Eric B. Elderman will join us to talk the French side of the third place playoff up tonight here on the Weekend Sports Breakfast.
High pressure picks on talkSPORT with Sure. Non-stop protection deodorant that won't ever let you down.
85th minute comes and we're still 1-up, and we've been attacking and we've still created chances, but it hasn't quite gone in.
Yeah.
But we're 1-up,
Yeah.
and Rashford's on the pitch.
Yeah.
And Saka's
Yeah,
on the
go on,
pitch.
keep going. I'm going
In
to
the
hit this.
85th minute,
Yeah.
it brings on Dan Burn.
No.
Lovely
No, we get done the counter-attack. We can say. We can say.
What do you mean?
I just told you the scenario.
No, but that scenario is absolute crap.
No, it's
that scenario wouldn't have happened.
Jay, I'm just trying to paint you a picture about how we could lose the game in a different way. Based on what... Jay, I'm with you. Don't get angry with me.
No, I am getting angry.
No, don't get angry
You're
with
trying
me.
to tell me how I'm going to feel about a situation.
And you'd sit there and go, oh, well done, boys. Glorious failure. We had a right go.
Yeah.
Right go at the post cup time. Got done in 2 counter-attacks. Fine. Go out in your shield. No way. No way you'd sit there and say that.
I would have sat there and I would have accepted it
I don't
because I
believe
watched 4 bloody tournaments
I don't believe you.
of England
I don't believe
doing
you.
exactly what we did last night.
I don't believe you.
And if we'd gone out with Rashford and Saka on the pitch...
I don't believe you.
...and still trying to attack, and we get done,
do you know what
then
we'd
we
be sitting
get
there?
done.
Do you know what we'd be sitting there now? We'd be saying, how can Thomas Tuchel allow us to get done on the counter-attack twice, 85th and 92nd minute? How can that happen?
Right.
You'll be saying the same thing, and it'll be a different conversation based on what the evidence is in front of you.
Right.
You would.
Don't tell me how I'm going to feel.
Oh, you'd accept it, would you?
I've told you 10 times.
No chance. No chance. I know you too well. No chance. I wouldn't accept it. I wouldn't accept it. I'd be saying, why has he not got 5 at the back? Why is he not? He's 85th minute on the counter-attack. Listen, we agree. I'm just trying to...
No, you're not agreeing. You're not agreeing.
No,
you're not agreeing.
No, I am...
No, you're trying to wind me up.
No, I'm not. Jay, 100% I'm agreeing with you. Jay, 100% I'm agreeing with you.
You're not agreeing with me. You're not agreeing with me. You're back with the World Cup weekend sports breakfast on talkSPORT with me, Willie Shakira Gavin, and the wonderful Tony Cascarino, former Republic of Ireland striker. Why is that the intro for this section when we're about to talk about France? The man is a French football legend. Marseille, Nancy. He's hanging out with French managers as they're about to win World Cups. He's got all the stories.
I had a great time.
It does seem like...
6 fantastic years in France.
Well, it'll be France facing England for a chance at a medal. Are we saying that? Are we calling it a bronze? It's not the Olympics. It's a nonsense. Third place is a nonsense. After the favourites made a shock exit, getting beaten 2-0 by Spain, they will be left as disappointed as England fans that a golden generation couldn't capitalise on their attacking threat. I'm delighted to say, to bring us more on this, the former editor of L'Equipe, French football expert, and my good friend, Eric Bielderman, is in the house. Eric, how are you, sir?
Hi, Eric.
Hi, my friends. How are you?
Yeah. Eric,
It's a pleasure.
I've got to ask you, because my son lives in Paris, and he said it's like morning time in France, and no one can even come to terms with what happened against Spain.
Yeah, it is exactly dull and morning. We feel like the World Cup is over, and there is even more interest to talk about Argentina versus Spain than to talk about France to play England. For the first time ever, maybe in L'Equipe this morning, they don't give a full page with the 2 lineup, what usually we could get. So it's like this game is a meaningless game. And where the headline of L'Equipe is on today is about this is the last dance, the farewell of Didier Deschamps. So emotion will be on the side of losing Didier Deschamps more than about winning or losing the game. As you say, this is not the Olympics. Third place is nothing. Even second place is nothing. This morning, Vicente Lizarazu, world champion 1998, says losing in the final or losing in the semi-final, this is the same story. Only the world champion means something.
From a perspective of the way the French are approaching this, right? Obviously disappointed in what's happened here, but we know Zidane is coming in for Deschamps. We know how brilliant that attacking line is, how much talent there is in France. Is there at least some positivity for going forward? Because England right now are all talking about that was our one chance kind of thing.
What is positive to me on the game for tonight is that some players have to show something, not for Didier Deschamps. Of course, they will try to behave and to thank Didier Deschamps for what he has brought to French football in the last 15 years, but also and mainly maybe they have to show what their ability and commitment to France, to the blue jersey, because of Zinedine Zidane. A player like Ryan Cherky, for instance, have spoken about the future. He made a video with his phone when he was in the bus of the French team, and he was really challenging himself and challenging France to behave on the future. A player like Zahir Emery, who have had very short time to play football, is a very gifted and he's also a versatile player. You can use him right back, you can use him in the midfield. Also, he will have a chance to show something left and right back. We have had problem all over the World Cup, so the one who will play like Gusto on the right side might say, okay, you didn't give me a chance, I want to show something. So what we do expect is every single player have a message to send to the next manager and a letter of thanks to the ex-manager. And I must finish with Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe wants to play that game because he wants to score goals. He wants to score many goals, if so, because he wants to be the best scorer of this World Cup and of all the World Cups. And in the meantime, Messi might struggle to score as many goals that he wants because he plays the real final. We can have maybe France-England 5-4, 3-3 or something with a lot of goals. Maybe not the same story with the true final.
Well, Eric, I mean, look, obviously Didier Deschamps got a great record as a France manager, winning a World Cup in 2018. He's produced a very good side. Now, in England, you can imagine the criticism towards Tuchel and the way that England went out and the mistakes that were quite clear and obvious. Now, the only thing I'd say about the French game against Spain was that I thought France had 2 or 3 players that were definitely injured going into that game. Chouameni, Saliba, definitely. I wasn't even sure if Mbappe was totally fit.
Yeah, so to me, it's an interesting point. Why we have had Chouameni to play after a couple of weeks where he was not fit. And we saw after a few minutes that he was playing close to the central defender. He was not playing an active role in the midfield. And the game was due to be won or lost in the midfield. We were expecting maybe Kone to be a first choice after the way he did play in the previous round. Then Saliba, we knew he had a back problem, but we never knew that he had a broken bone in the back. So it's quite suicidal, even in his physical future, to make him to play so many games. So it means that obviously Didier Deschamps was not trusting Lacroix, was not trusting Konate, was not trusting N'Golo Kante. So it means that in the 26 players list, obviously for Didier Deschamps, it was a 16 or 70s players list. And then you can have a lot of question marks about how can we keep on field versus the best team, to me, by far in the world in terms of collective football, in terms of football possession, there are skill and cleverness. How can you play with maybe 8.5 or 9.5 player instead of 11?
Eric, just finally, and I think we've talked about this previously, but I think Didier Deschamps dropped the ball by not adding an extra man in midfield against Spain, not accepting that 4-2-4 was not a formation that was going to work and they were going to be able to control the game so easily. But there's one man I'd like to know if you think we will see today, maybe for a last ever time in a French shirt. Is N'Golo Kante going to appear? Premier League legend, France legend. Are we going to at least get to see him in a third place playoff?
Yeah, so we have information that he will play, but I was expecting him to be a first choice to play in the first 11. He might be on the bench, but for sure he will have at least 20 or 30 minutes. We don't know if he or he will have 50 or 60. He won't have the 90 minutes, but whatever is sure, he will be playing. And to us and to you, it's a meaningful challenge for him, because to play his very last game for France versus the English team, where he has made the pride of Leicester, the pride of himself, the pride of football. I remember Lineker years ago talking about N'Golo Kante with such beautiful words and with such love, I would even say. So he's a low profile, he's a kind person. N'Golo Kante deserves a big round of applause. And I'm sure from the French, but also from the English fans in the stadium, he should and he will, I'm sure, get the round of applause and love that he deserves.
The wonderful Eric Bielderman joining us on the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Eric. Brilliant stuff from him. We'll finish the show off with some Cascarino ahead of the warm-up from 10 here on talkSPORT.
I wasn't overly enamoured with what we were doing anyway. I've spoken freely on this marvellous channel that we're on and, you know, on talkSPORT regularly and said, look, it's not as good as what everyone was making out, I didn't think, you know, and that's nothing against the manager, Thomas Tuchel, nothing at all. It's just that I didn't think, you know, I wasn't thinking we were blowing teams away and we were purring, but we were finding a way, and that's equally fair to say. That's a brilliant thing to have, of course, if you're not playing brilliantly, but you're winning games. Now, that's a great habit. We all know that. So I don't think I was too... I try to give balance to my comments about these things, and I didn't think we were magnificent anyway. There was a lot of talk about this feel, and how the feel was better. I wasn't having that bit. I was going, oh, come on, do me a favour. And I've spoken freely on, I think it was with Simon and Jim about, you know, Gareth's time, and they were sort of suggesting I was supporting him because I'm his mate and all that. I wasn't. I was just calling it how I think it was. I don't think there was radical change. I had a big debate with Simon about it on their show and said, look, I don't think there is radical change. Simon was saying there is, and he's a master tactician and that's fine, by the way. I've got no problem with people's comments because we're here now talking about it. But I did say on that show, I did say to Simon, I said, Simon, there's nothing radically changed here. You know, if you cut through the noise and you go, in balance to that side of it, which I have been intrigued with, is I do think this is the best opportunity we've had, certainly in my lifetime, I think it's the best opportunity we've ever had to win the World Cup. Not because we're amazing, but because the other superpowers are not as superpowered as what they were. France were flying. I think we're all shocked by that one because they were the ones who you thought, right, okay, they're what we think they should be, apart from their last game. And equally, you know, you look at them and they are superpowered. And yet, you look at their last game and...
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
No fighting.
We got the refugees.
No fighting. No fighting.
Shakira.
Gabs and Jasper seeing us out in style with a bit of Shakira. Cass, you've stood 2 feet from Shakira. You've sat 2 feet from me. Whose hips don't lie more? Like, come on. Whose curves do you prefer? It's gotta be this guy.
No contest, Will.
Yeah, you say no contest without giving an answer. It's not an answer. You've got to say...
I'm not going to do the obvious and say you have got the... You're so far behind it. You're going to be the second best you've ever been.
Yeah, listen, there's no second place. There's only first loser. And in this situation, that's very much me. This is the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast. I'm Will Gavin, alongside Gillingham legend Tony Cascarino. And the golf is underway. It's live over on talkSPORT 2 right now. Let's get an update from Sean O'Brien, who's watching the Open for talkSPORT.
Yes, we are underway on day 3 of the Open. The fans are flooding through the gates. And I'll just remind you where we stand. Lucas Herbert is your unlikely leader on 8 under par, 2 shots clear of Jackson Suber, Cameron Young and Ryan Gerard. Bryson DeChambeau is 3 shots back on 5 under par after he was given a very controversial 2-stroke penalty and threatened not to play. He will play. It's a huge story here at Royal Birkdale, and you can get more on that over on talksport.com. The leaders don't go out for another 6 hours or so, and the Bryson incident actually had a knock-on effect on these early starters. They didn't get their tee times until very late last night amid all the uncertainty. So a lot of tired heads out here. English golfer Marco Penge actually complained about it over on social media. But we are underway. Day 3 is off and kicking, and there's live commentary over on talkSPORT 2.
Brilliant, Sean O'Brien.
Open Championship update on talkSPORT with Arnold Clark. Buy a used car and get a free 2-year service plan.
Thank you, Sean. Nothing controversial about it. Absolutely the right decision. Bryson, you're a child. Let's finish off with a little bit of this.
Cascarino yes or Cascarino no?
On the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT.
What?
It is time for Cascarino yes or Cascarino, where we'll get Cass's quickfire hot takes on this weekend's big sporting topic. Simple yes or no answers to our question. Let's start off with England and Thomas Tuchel. What a shock. After crashing out of the World Cup on Wednesday, Cascarino yes or Cascarino no? Will Tuchel still be in this job going into Euro 2028?
Yes.
Mo Salah is reportedly close to joining Turkish giants Besiktas on a free transfer from Liverpool. Cascarino yes, Cascarino no? Is the Turkish league the right move for Mo Salah?
Well, there's only a few leagues he can go to because obviously salary-wise that it's got to be a big paying league. And I think he will end up somewhere like Turkey. Yeah, absolutely.
Impressed with what he did at the World Cup?
Okay. Done okay.
Yeah, I thought he was... it was wonderful scenes to see.
He's not reached the levels of what he was going back sort of 18 months ago. And that season when Liverpool were champions. He's not really... Certainly last year didn't show it hardly at all. And in the World Cup, I thought he played slightly better than he did for Liverpool. But Liverpool had a few of them, didn't they?
Oh, just a few. We talked about, Alexis McAllister, how good he's been for Argentina and how poor he was for Liverpool this year. Obviously, they had all the injury issues. Yeah. I think Liverpool could be due a big bounce back with Antonio.
I do as well. And I did say to you earlier, challenger. Is it coincidence Arsenal have had a number of injuries after winning the league? Will they pay a price like Liverpool did the year before? Because Van Dijk wasn't on the year before. Nope. They've won the league. Van Dijk, Andy Robertson, to name Salah as a third, Andy, just naming a few of them that didn't play their best football after winning the league.
Well, interesting you mention Arsenal. Morgan Rogers, reportedly still the number 1 target for Arsenal this summer. First bid turned down. In for potentially Ezra Konsa as well. Cascarino yes or Cascarino no? Should Arsenal go all out, no matter the cost, to bring Morgan Rogers to...
No, you should never do that. You can't go all out and just whatever it is, you pay what you consider is the fair fee for a player that you like. Once you go beyond that, Will, you can't just keep going further and further.
It's a 2-tier question, this. Yeah. Is Morgan Rogers worth £130 million?
Well, of course he's not. But is he a very good player? Yes.
But is he worth £130 million when you consider Sandro Tonali £100 million, Elliot Anderson £116 million? What the market is right now, I think if they can get, and I don't know if Villa will do this, but if they can get Rodgers and Konsa for a combined deal of somewhere in that 130 to 150 range, I think that would be very good business.
Well, Will, we're looking at numbers now, and it's like, if someone's less than 100 million, they're nearly a free transfer. I mean, we're getting silly. We're getting so silly on the fees that are being paid. And Europe won't follow. Europe might sign players that are being released by other Premier League clubs, but they're not going to be paying, apart from PSG.
I think when you consider what Arsenal did last summer, bringing in Eze, who I think we need to see more of this year, had great moments last year, but not consistent. Arteta didn't fancy him. He didn't start for about 3 months stretch, despite being healthy. But he grew into the season. He could have a big improved year this year. Obviously, Nonu Madueke, people very disappointed with what he did at the World Cup, but could be an impact player. Disappointing last year.
Yeah.
If they bring in one more really talented player, Trossard looks like he's on the way out. Are they a team who can actually compete for the Champions League and push on for the Premier League?
Well, I think trying to back up the Premier League is a big challenge for them. Arsenal bought players to win the league and get over the line, and that's what they did. I think there's a couple of PSG players that they could certainly be tempted to go after. I like Doué more than Bacola. I think Doué's got more, but I don't think PSG would let him go.
Well, listen, that's it from us on the World Cup Sports Breakfast. Tony Cascarino and I will be back tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. to keep the World Cup party going. But up next, it's the warm-up with Max Rushton and Charlie Baker.
It's 25 minutes. You're playing against Argentina, and you've just gone, here, there you go.
I'm
Go on,
so
just attack us. Attack v defence.
Do you know what, Jay? I can't believe I'm having this conversation about Tuchel. I cannot believe I'm having this conversation.
Sack him. Sack him.
It's just rinse and repeat as England. And I don't know whether he looked back on that Mexico game and got drawn into how comfortable he felt. No, Jay, I'm not giving you an answer. I'm trying to find a reason. I'm trying to get into his head. I don't know the answer, Jay. Any more than you. Don't, Jay. I'm trying to find a reason.
But why put Bellingham on the left?
Jay, I don't know.
Why not bring Rashford on?
I don't know.
Why not bring Saka on?
I don't know.
What was he thinking?
I don't know.
What's he thinking?
I'm trying to get into Tuchel's head because the lads were dead on their feet. And if you're going to go to 5 at the back, which I kind of understand in one way, I do. But what you need to do is help help the back 5, because if they can't get out, you literally are on the edge of your box, and you can't defend all the time like that. You need pressure on the ball. You need players to get out, and also you need an out ball.
It's 2010, and the Goalkeepers Union is up in arms. Why?